Welcome everyone to the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect. My name is Jared Mello, and I'm the Shepherd of Black Sheep. To my right here is my buddy, Shadow the Night Owl. He is the spirit animal and the mascot of the show here. All the support that I get, whether it's from super chats, super stickers, or people that become a channel member or gift channel memberships, they help me to pay for Shadow's soy-free hootie snacks because, like maybe Dr. Jennifer Tufts should have been, Shadow hormone conscious, by the way. And you'll see how I tied that into the cross-examination of Dr. Jennifer Tufts today. Hello there, Dee and Miss Kim. How are you both? So in the beginning, I'm going to give you my summary of the takeaways. Then we'll actually go and watch some of it in the later part of this stream. Hello there, Teresa. How are you? How has the flock of black sheep's day been? Hello there, Laura. And Julie Reagan, Bethany. Is it FLB? Florida bound girl? Glad to see everyone popping on in here. Hartman, how are you? I got a notification, even better. Hopefully, most of the flock of black sheep gets notifications for these streams. And what did you all think of the cross-examination of Dr. Jennifer Tufts by Kevin Reddington, the defense attorney? Nanny Goat, how are you, Nanny Goat? Lindsay, how are you? Welcome. So I can give you the biggest things that I noticed from the cross-examination. Some of it I already knew that Kevin Reddington was going to bring up. One of them was, why was Lindsay's thyroid levels not checked? Why does that matter? Because thyroid dysfunction can certainly contribute to postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. Now, it wouldn't have been Dr. Tufts herself that did the blood work, but what could have been done is they could have sent her to an endocrinologist, and they would have tested the blood, and they would have then checked to see if the thyroid is functioning properly. The reason I say this is a big thing is because if what you're doing isn't working, you have to take a step back. You have to take a step back and try different approaches. And again, mental health is certainly a mind, body, spirit thing. Some people were trying to tell me today on Facebook, no, it's not. It's not a mind contributing to the... They say, oh, a psychiatrist is only supposed to care about how the mind impacts the body, not the other way around. Not how the body impacts the mind. I'm like, what? The body impacts the mind. What are you even doing here? 90 to 95% of the serotonin that we produce is produced in the gut, our gastrointestinal tract. That's what. Your thyroid functioning. That contributes to how your hormones are functioning. It's regulating them. That contributes. Your hormones in general contribute to your mental health. So to me, your body, to not include that a little bit in mental health treatment is absurd. And again, I'm not even saying that it's up to Dr. Jennifer Tufts to do that herself, but it is perhaps up to her to outsource it to someone that is aware of that. That's one big thing right there. No testing for the thyroid. Another one, no Edinburgh postnatal depression scale. And why does this matter? Just like they didn't do that at McLean Hospital either. This matters because on Dr. Tufts' website, and Kevin Reddington was certainly calling this out, she advertises herself as a women's mental health expert and a perinatal psychiatric expert. So what do you think that means? It means that you should know all about postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. And granted, postpartum psychosis is indeed very rare. But if you're going to advertise those things being your expertise, Dr. Tufts are trying to say it's actually, those are my interests. But I'm pretty sure they were advertised as her expertise. You know, you would hope you would know about that. I think what happens to a lot of psychiatrists is, as I've been saying, when your biggest tool is prescribing medications, it's like they say, when the only tool you have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. And I think that's what they do a lot. And granted, that's part of what a psychiatrist is supposed to do specifically. But when it comes to mental health, there's a bigger picture going on. And I don't think that can't be understated. How about that? So the Edinburgh postnatal depression scale, never given. Thyroid testing, never given. Those are two things. Another thing, Dr. Tufts never knew that Lindsay had called a suicide hotline multiple times. Now, and this brings us to another thing. All of Dr. Tufts' sessions with Lindsay were telehealth. I think there were 14 in total. Most of them were around 25 minutes, if not less in some cases. But never were they in person. And Dr. Tufts said, well, Lindsay could have asked for in person whenever she wanted. Now, the issue with that might be, did Dr. Tufts even mention that was an option? Oh, by the way, Lindsay, if you feel more comfortable seeing me in person, we can do that. Something tells me she didn't do that. And Kevin Reddington was saying to her, well, when you're only doing telehealth, you don't see her arms, you don't see her body language as much, you don't see if her feet are fidgeting. Fair points, if you ask me. What's another thing? Lindsay did actually do a session with Patrick once. And this is where maybe Patrick, depending on the date and time of that session, I don't think it was January. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think it was January. I think it was before that. But I think Lindsay could have taken the opportunity as well, or excuse me, Dr. Tufts, to talk to Patrick to make sure that she's getting the right information. Because unfortunately here, Lindsay wasn't necessarily forthcoming with some of the answers. For example, Lindsay never told them that she was having thoughts of harming the kids. She mentioned thoughts of suicidal idealization, but she never thought of actually following through. She didn't go as far as to say that to Dr. Tufts. I don't know what she said on the suicide hotline calls, but it just seems like Dr. Tufts didn't find a way to get to the bottom of it. Like, I'm not sure if Lindsay didn't feel comfortable opening up with her. I don't know if the telehealth had something to do with that. I don't know if it was only because of the 25-minute calls and you can't build enough rapport in that situation. I mean, as a coach myself, not a psychiatrist or licensed professional counselor, you need about an hour, honestly, to really get anything accomplished. And what I always say to people in the sessions is, and I don't provide therapy, by the way, I do coaching, but I say, hey, this is a judgment-free zone. The more honest you are with me, the more I'll be able to help you. And I've heard it all. Shadow and I have heard it all. We're not lying about that. We certainly have. And that would be Dr. Tufts' goal, to get Lindsay in a position to be as honest as possible and help her to feel safe and comfortable so she's willing to be honest. Because this is where I'll give Dr. Tufts some slack. It's tough. If Lindsay's not going to be open and it's going to be like pulling teeth to get the truth out of her, that does make it very difficult. It just does. Dr. Tufts can do her best to make sure Lindsay feels safe and comfortable. But at the end of the day, if Lindsay is not going to be honest, then you're not working with all the information. If you're not working with all the information, then you're not able to make the best decisions. And Reddington was going on about how, yes, Lindsay was struggling, but to the extent that she was struggling, that's what it seemed like Dr. Tufts she wasn't aware of that. And maybe she would have been if she reached out to Patrick. Now, that's another good point. In order for that to even have happened, Lindsay would have had to give Dr. Tufts permission to talk to Patrick because of HIPAA. Hopefully she would have, but you never know. You never know if she really would have or not. But that could have been helpful too, for Dr. Tufts to call Patrick. It might have been helpful for Patrick to take the initiative to talk to Dr. Tufts and to talk to the McLean Hospital staff. If they would even talk to him, by the way. He could have tried to do that. And if Lindsay didn't give him permission to do that, and didn't give him permission, the doctor's permission to talk to him, they wouldn't be able to talk to him. They would say, hey, I can't talk to you even though you're her husband, because it would be a HIPAA violation. That's a thing too. Wendy, how are you? Alandra Gray, how are you? Hartman says you couldn't get an appointment in person on certain medications, bad medicine. You couldn't get an appointment in person if on certain Oh, is that so? What certain medications are they? Sweet Caroline, welcome. Mayor, welcome. What did Dana mention, Mayor? She did say that the facility she worked for used a different kind of scale than the Edinburgh scale. Was it a postpartum depression scale, though? I think she mentioned something that wasn't necessarily the standard of the postpartum depression scale. Isn't the Edinburgh basically the standard? I know they were talking about the DSM a little bit too. And don't get me wrong, we're going to go into some of this as well. But because we're actually going to watch some of it in a minute. But Lindsay, I think the biggest thing was you got to test the thyroid at least. You got to try to maybe talk to the family members as long as you have permission to do so. And sometimes this takes longer sessions though. And so maybe you should take the initiative and try to get her in person too. Again, that seems to be the issue, that when people are passive a little bit and you leave it up to Lindsay, well, the person struggling with mental health and postpartum depression or worse, it's tough. Because on one hand, yes, she is responsible for her mental health and well-being. But on the other hand, when your mental health is a problem like that, it might be the very thing that's making it harder for you to be honest. So it becomes very difficult. I mean, mental health is honestly one of the hardest things to treat because there's so many moving parts. There are some people that they never get their mental health right their entire lives. That can't be understated either. But what else? What else can we go over about this whole thing? Other than that, I think Reddington did a good job. He did a fairly good job cross-examining her. I think, like I said, I wish Dr. Tufts would have been a little more proactive, but I also wish Lindsay would have been more open as well. Because again, like I said, it's very difficult. Very difficult when you don't have all the information. Bethany, how are you? Mare says, I will say, if she really wanted help, then I personally think getting psychotherapy would have been a really critical missing piece for her. I would agree with that, Mare. I think she did get therapy twice. I don't know if we've heard yet if it's been more than twice, but October 3rd and October 31st, she saw the licensed mental health counselor, I think they were called. But she did do that twice. But then again, twice isn't really enough. Twice is just going to scratch the surface. You need consistently at that point. And also, if Lindsay would have mentioned these thoughts about harming the kids, I have a feeling, unless Tufts and McLean Hospital Dr. Alia Goodhart are lying about her saying that, or not saying that, I should say, she probably would have gotten inpatient treatment. And that could have prevented the entire thing. But as it was, that's not what happened. Lindsay went to McLean Hospital for about 5 days, and then she was able to sign herself out. And it wasn't even AMA. Wasn't even AMA. And that didn't help her at all, Miss Kim. I agree with that. She drank 5 nights a week. I didn't hear it if Reddington pressed her on that, but he probably didn't, because that wouldn't help his case. If anybody would, the prosecution would. Dana says if he was her direct authority, then they could tell him, and evidently he was, because when she was in the hospital, she had her direct authority changed to her parents. And was that in McLean or after the killings? That was after the killings she did that, right? So if someone's the direct authority, does HIPAA no longer apply? I'm not exactly sure how that works. But what I know is Patrick didn't tell them, and they weren't necessarily forthright. Patrick, in the one session, was saying Lindsay was really struggling. But again, it's just like they didn't get the chance to dig deeper. That was part of the issue. Anyone on your list can have information. HIPAA don't count those. PHQ, 9 questions focus on depression, not PPD. Yeah, and that's the thing, Hartman, right? You'd want it to focus on postpartum depression. Yeah, twice, like I said, Mayor, it's just going to scratch the surface. You need consistent therapy. I mean, once a week, at the minimum, bi-monthly, but then consistently. Even bi-weekly isn't enough. It's just you don't get any momentum. So, and here's the other thing. Dr. Tufts was in her first month of being a psychiatrist when she was treating Lindsay. So that's wet behind the ears. Now, granted, she has her residency hours and she had a supervisor. Yeah, sure. But still, that's the first month you're on your own. And granted, Lindsay must have been a tough case to have, especially now considering how it ended. But in January, Dr. Tufts saw her 4 times, the last time being the day before. And Lindsay had complained about many things in these sessions: depersonalization, lethargy, like feeling empty. And like Dr. Tufts was hearing it, but outside of just prescribing different medications or offering the supplements in some cases, it just seems like they didn't take the next step. It seems like there should have been a next step in there somewhere. There was also no communication. Dr. Tufts did not talk to McLean Hospital at all about her stay there. I'm sure she knew about it, but she doesn't work there, so she'd said, well, I don't have access to the notes. That's where it seems like there should be, if you're her primary psychiatrist, you should probably try to see what's going on. Now, Dr. Tufts had said, well, they didn't treat her for anything there. Well, isn't that a problem then? Because Lindsay signs herself in there voluntarily, and then they didn't treat her for anything? What is that supposed to accomplish? She didn't treat her for anything. Then she leaves on a Thursday for a birthday party of her child. What did you do? Not much. Not much is the answer. Oh. Dana says, I wish there was a place around here to go play bingo. B-I-N-G-O. That's right, Hartman, right? And again, I feel bad for Dr. Tufts a little bit. This has been, could you imagine that in your first month of being a psychiatrist, one of your patients does this? That's got to be awful. And again, I can put myself in these people's shoes. That's got to be a tough position for Dr. Tufts to be in. And I think she was doing her best. It's just, she just wasn't as experienced. And again, you would hope a 20-year psychiatrist is going to have a little more wisdom than one that's less than a month in. That's just reality. I mean, if the 20-year psychiatrist isn't better than the 1-month psychiatrist, something's wrong, right? You would hope they've learned a lot over the years and they've learned from mistakes, etc. And that didn't help either, Miss Kim. The gummies and the booze, that certainly doesn't help the defense. But Kevin, he was gripping her. He was ripping her pretty good. I almost thought Dr. Tufts was going to cry for a second. She almost did. Peaceful says, how much more of an adverse impact on her mental status meds would have been more than deteriorating marriage? How much more of an adverse impact on her mental status meds would have been more than deteriorating marriage? I'm not sure I understand the comment. Nanny Goat says she said she offered her therapy by giving hope that things will get better. Yeah, that's going to help some with psychosis, yeah. Not quite, right, Nanny Goat? Not quite. And again, this is where the endo, outsourcing her to an endo, because if what you're doing is not working, you got to take a step back and try some different things. Now, some people were telling me, well, the psychiatrist, it's not their job to check the thyroid. It's not their job to check the other things. And I'd say, well, a psychiatrist that has her client's best interest in mind, you're going to do that, though. You'd say, you know what? Let's make sure your thyroid's functioning properly. And I've heard some people say the psychiatrists they work with, they do that. So it's not unheard of. Apparently, it's not unheard of. Janine, welcome there, Janine. Shadow and I say hello. Yeah, but if it wasn't all telehealth visits, maybe they could have seen her interactions, even as far as therapy. That's just not good enough, in my opinion. And I agree with that. I think it's hard to build a rapport just over telehealth. And again, it's one thing with coaching over the phone or a video call, but something as serious as mental health and therapy and talks about your medications, That's pretty serious. I would think, hopefully, many times that would be in person. Now, sometimes this was at the end of COVID, I guess, but even so. Hello there, Tim. Welcome. I would have, if I was Dr. Tufts, try to get her in, I guess, but she made it seem like Lindsay seemed like it was fine. It was fine with the telehealth. Mayor says, Jared, have you talked at all about whether Lindsay Clancy could be a covert narcissist? No, I haven't. I could try to deep dive it. The only thing that gave me pause so far with her is a couple things. Her not letting Patrick's parents watch the kids. That was a little, I don't know what that was all about. Could that be controlling? Maybe. Could like in her diary, she was saying she was tired of having to take care of everyone. Now, how true was that? Was she taking care of everyone? Possibly. Or is it a little bit more of a victim routine? I don't know. It's hard to say, right? We weren't behind closed doors. And again, Mayor, considering what she did at the end, it's not something to rule out completely, but I don't know yet. I think the other thing that was important, none of the professionals, Dr. Tufts or Dr. Ilya Goodhart, none of them said she had any signs of postpartum psychosis. That's a point for the prosecution there too. But none of them said anything like it. But there was also a disconnect. I think there was a disconnect between what Lindsay was experiencing at home and what Patrick saw versus what she was saying to Dr. Tufts. That disconnect, I think, was crucial. And again, Dr. Tufts didn't know. She didn't know about the suicide hotline calls. She didn't really know what happened in McLean Hospital either. She didn't talk to the professionals there and get their notes. So this is where the a la carte treatment piece kind of got in the way. And to even hear you say that, Mayor, I'm thinking so many people are saying that with Patrick now. They say all over my Instagram now in particular, it's been contagious to Instagram now. And everyone's like, all of us women know. We've seen it. We know something's not right with Patrick. I'm like, do you really? I think Patrick's sin was just not being proactive enough. The same sin I would give actually the medical professionals too. And again, as a man, I could also say, sure, extreme ownership, take responsibility, take care of your family, provide positive masculine containment. Absolutely. And I think he was just overwhelmed and in over his head though. Mavs, welcome. Anytime, Mayor. They're disappointing me, Mayor. Someone was telling me today, Jared, narcissists defend narcissists. Jared, I'm unfollowing you because you can't admit when you're wrong. And I'm thinking to myself, what would I admit I'm wrong about? Nothing's been proven. But you want me to admit I'm wrong? About what? Nothing's been proven. Which reminds me, I'm going to come up with another video soon about some of the fallacies that are occurring here. And I'll give you a couple of them. One of them is the complex question fallacy. The complex question fallacy, also known as a loaded question, is when in a question, a hidden premise is smuggled in. For example, we'll use the example of Patrick. People will ask, why did Patrick change his shoes? Hidden in that question is the premise that he did change his shoes, when in reality, that premise has not been established. So they call that a complex question fallacy. Another common one would be, when did you stop beating your wife? To answer that question directly, yes or no, have you stopped beating your wife? Yes implies that you used to beat her. No implies that you still are. So you have to challenge the premise of these questions. But what happens a lot of times is when a group of people start asking these questions, many times with a loaded premise like that, and they go unchallenged, and many people say them and repeat them, the hidden premises in them get taken as fact by the group. And they call it an epistemic cascade. That's what it's called. What do we got here? Sweet Caroline. Thank you very much, Sweet Caroline. Shadow and I say thank you. And to the flock of black sheep too, of course. This one is for you, Shadow. Keep your eyes wide open in the darkest of times. Only then may you see shooting stars. I love that, sweet Caroline. We love you. Payday tomorrow, and Hootie Snacks will be coming your way. Did you hear that, Shadow? He's flapping his wings. He's shaking his tail feather right now with excitement. It reminds me of the Dumbledore quote. One can find... What does he say? One can find light even in the darkest of places if one only remembers to turn on the light. What's the exact quote? One can find hope even in the darkest of places if one only remembers to turn on the light. I like that one too. Thank you very much, sweet Caroline. Dana says, do you think Tufts was afraid of Reddington? You could tell because she sounded like a when speaking to prosecutors, she was bold. You know what I think, Dana? Is that with prosecutors, she felt like they were on her team. With Reddington, she felt like she was on the defense. I almost thought Reddington was going to make her cry, honestly. It seemed like she was about to because he was really grilling her. And you know what? Rightfully so. Rightfully so, because when 3 kids are dead, it's a very serious situation. And again, I don't think Dr. Tufts is to blame completely. But there are some things that she could have done better. And you can say that about a lot of people in this case. And the touchiest of subjects will be what Lindsay could have done better. And I already know people aren't going to want to hear that. They're going to say, Lindsay? Lindsay's the one that has mental health issues. Lindsay, the one that was feeling postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis. How can you dare say she could do something better? And I'd say, well, you just can't outsource completely your well-being and your mental health. You just can't. So, I can't deny there are some things she should have done better. Like the drinking part. We don't know how often that was after the initial consultation. But 5 nights a week, 1 to 2 drinks a week that she felt guilty about, which might have been more than 1 to 2 drinks a night, that's not going to help those prescription meds, not one bit. Taking THC gummies that your doctors don't know about, that's not going to help either. Not saying you're overwhelmed, but then not letting Patrick's parents help you with the kids, that's not going to help. Not being forthright about wanting to harm the kids. And I know some people were saying, wow, she was petrified she would lose the kids if she said it. And I thought to myself, and Shadow said to me, Jared, well, yes, much, much better to kill the kids than to lose the kids, right? And when you put it like that, it sounds absurd. Because it is. So, again, at some point, it's got to be some responsibility for her too. And again, I totally get how sensitive a subject that is. People will say victim blaming, etc. And regardless, I still haven't changed my mind. I still don't think the prosecution's going to be able to prove that she was sane at the time of the killing. A big part of this, though, will be what the defense experts, the experts on postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, if they can just establish that, yes, you can come in and out of psychosis, I don't know how the prosecution proves otherwise. But as it is, it doesn't help the defense that none of the medical professionals have said she showed signs of psychosis. Now, are they just covering their ass? Or they really didn't see any signs? Or a combination of both? Let's see here. Nanny Goat gifted the Wizard of Radical Self-Respect membership. Shadow and I say thank you, Nanny Goat. How's your back doing, Nanny Goat? Whoever gets this membership now, they get access to the members-only live streams. That is going to be Thursday. Chill&A and Q&A. We have a grand old time in there. Hopefully the YouTube Lords of Random decide wisely who gets that. Shadow shaking his rump shaker, Janine says. Laura, thank you for the super chat. Laura, Shadow and I say thank you. Don't come for me, but I enjoyed Remington crucifying Tufts today. I feel the doctors did not put enough effort into a proper diagnosis. Totally understandable, Laura. And again, I just wish that the psychiatrists You got to know that medications can be a piece of the puzzle, but they're not the only piece of the puzzle. Very rarely will they be the only piece of the puzzle. They can be part of a successful mental health routine, but mental health in particular is a mind, body, spirit thing. Now, the pushback I was getting online about that was, the brain doctor is only supposed to focus on the brain. And my issue with that is, it's like, don't you think the rest of the body is impacting the brain? How not? How isn't it? So to me, it doesn't make sense to try to isolate it like that. No, all of those things contribute. Thyroid, hormones. Are you exercising? Are you surrounded by assholes? What is it? All of those things can matter. Do you have a purpose in life? Are you in a miserable relationship? What else? What else could it be? And again, it's also telling that she was never diagnosed with postpartum depression or postpartum psychosis. She was diagnosed with just other general mental health things. Never postpartum depression, never postpartum psychosis. Hartman says they all could have done better. She wanted a quick fix, but that's not going to happen. She needed to be more honest. I agree with that, Hartman. She did. And again, when it comes to mental health, there is no quick fix usually. There's small pieces of the puzzle that get added together. That's usually what happens. Oh, did Tim get it? Tim got the membership? Awesome. Dana, I'm afraid of Reddington. Mayor. You don't want to be on Reddington's bad side. Janine says, Patrick isn't inside her brain, though. That's what the specialists are supposed to do. If you don't help yourself, it's hard to blame him for... No, I agree with that. As the man, I think positive masculine containment and trying to anticipate needs and doing everything you can is important. But there comes a point when the other person has to meet you a little bit. You can do everything right, but if Lindsay's not going to be like, you can lead the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. If Lindsay's to the water, you can't make her drink, unfortunately. So it's tough. Mental health issues are tough. Which point, Mayor? I forget. Which point was good? We always like hearing good points. Chatty Kathy, welcome. I thought that little girl playing doctor was really thinking she was tops until the defense got her angry on his cross. Yeah, she did. She was a little angry. The person with the most attitude was that ER doctor. She looked vicious. Remember her from a few days ago? The one about the body temperature? Reddington was grilling her, and she was just like, not as I recall. I do not recall. I'm going to buy them a t-shirt, Laura, that says, I don't recall. I'm going to get a bumper sticker. I don't recall. Thank you for the 2 jewels, Laura. 2 jewels. 2 family jewels, do you say, Laura? That's what Shadow thought. Thank you. I'm glad Tim got it. That Tim is a worthy recipient, I say. Sweet Caroline says, Jared, I've always believed in epiphenomenalism. But what exactly would you consider epiphenomenalism? Maybe Sweet Caroline is going to teach us a new word. I haven't heard that word. Epiphenomenalism. I think I know what it might mean. But now I want to hear Sweet Caroline's definition. Oh, and there was something else about the epistemic cascade I want to go over from before. Peaceful says, in January, Lindsay shared her deteriorating symptoms with docs, but Patrick believed opposite. However, in December, she was more vocal with Patrick. Why? It's a good question. It's a good question. Oh, yes. The epistemic cascade is about... That's the other thing. When a question is unclear or unanswered, people have a... What do they call it? Argument from ignorance is what it's called. That's the fallacy. It's called argument from ignorance. But just because a question isn't answered doesn't mean that your preferred theory is now more likely to be true. That's not what it means. But in a lot of these conspiracy circles, that's exactly what people take it to mean. Oh, this question's unclear. That means my theory is more likely. And that's just not reality. Is it? Could it be in some cases? Okay, sometimes. But every time? No, certainly not. Sassing you? Oh, there's B. Oh, yeah, she's been using your word, Laura. Justice Jane. I don't recall either, Justice Jane. B says, did you guys think Kevin came across as a bully today? I saw a lot of people saying that in comments under another video. Now, I think he was just being firm. I think he was being firm. He was being hard on her. He was being hard on her, no doubt. But again, the way he's seeing it is, this is the woman that maybe could have prevented what happened. That's how he's seeing it, I think, right? He's seeing it as, maybe if she did things differently, those 3 children could be alive. And of course, I mean, he's doing it for Lindsay's sake too, of course. But I think he walked the tightrope pretty good. He didn't completely bully her, but he was certainly tough. And I think he did well. Yeah, I agree with that, Laura. He was tough and firm, but I don't think he was bullied. I don't think he was bullying, I would say. He was definitely tough. He was definitely tough, and he was definitely firm. To me, I think some of the questions that the prosecution was asking Patrick, that seemed a little more ridiculous to me. Remember that on day 1 and day 2? D says, so old, if they tried to do a blood test for levels, they had to look it up in a book. Very old, but prescribed by a major hospital, so she was bang on. Okay. I'm going to look up that word, sweet Caroline. Mind affects the body, body affects the mind. Is that the definition? Okay, that makes sense to me then. All right, so let's watch. Sweet Caroline teaching us words. I love it. Let's watch, though, to see what Reddington has to say. See Dr. Tufts. There was also another woman afterwards, the nurse practitioner.
And you can look at that anytime you want, just to refresh your memory of what's going on with you.
Why his volume's a little bit low in this for some reason. I don't know why.
Thank you.
Dr. Tufts, you are presently a psychiatrist, correct?
Correct.
And can you tell me where you went to med school?
University of Vermont.
And what were the years that you were at University of Vermont?
2014 to 2018.
Beautiful country up there. Great place to live, right?
It is. It's beautiful.
And when you graduated from med school, you then did your residency?
Correct.
And where was the residency?
Boston Medical Center.
And can you tell me, what is it exactly?
Chatty Cat, Jared, prosecutor is a 3rd team choice. As in, she's the C team? Is that what you mean? Not the A team, but the C team?
Exactly that you do as a psychiatric resident or a psychiatrist resident. What do you do?
You do a lot of different things. You rotate in all the different aspects of psychiatry, as well as internal medicine, so that you have a foundational knowledge of broad medical topics. You admit patients into the inpatient hospital. You manage emergencies in the hospital and in the emergency room, decide whether patients need to be admitted.
I will say, Justice Jane, that the alcohol and the THC and the withholding information, it doesn't help Lindsay. I'll put it that way. I don't know if it'll be enough, to get her convicted, but it doesn't help her.
Admitted psychiatrically or not, and also carry a panel of outpatients.
And is this a hospital that you're working in, or is it Boston University? Is it a medical center?
So yes, it's the Boston University program located at the hospital, Boston Medical Center, with also a lot of time spent at the various Boston VA locations.
And
Mayor, you have a great night, Mayor. Shout out when I say have a great night. I have to read her comment. I go to bed, but thanks for the chat, guys. Stay calm. Stay radically self-respectful. Shout out when I appreciate that, Mayor. Hope you have a very pleasant evening. Thanks for joining us.
what were the years, I'm sorry, that you did your residency?
2018 to 2022.
So you basically were working as either person's
Also, if you want, I can fast forward some of this to the good parts because this is pretty long, but
studying to be a doctor, graduating, and then becoming a resident through the entire pandemic.
For the first part of the pandemic, yes.
The pandemic ended when Joe Biden said it ended. I think it was July of 2022, right?
I'm not sure exactly when he said that.
Would you agree with me that when the pandemic started, around 2019, when you began your residency, 2020, 21, into 22, it was a large portion, if you will, of the pandemic time frame?
Yes.
All right. And we all had to walk around with masks and have no contact.
let's see. Where would be a good place to pop to?
I believe yes. I'm not directing the marketing of our office, but yes.
Okay, never mind your office. I'm talking about you.
Okay, here it is. So this is where he's talking about how she markets herself in her advertising. She advertises herself as women's mental health expert and perinatal psychiatry expert. So let's see.
You had an ad that was in on the computer that if somebody wanted to reach out to a doctor, they could see your ad amongst many others, right?
Well, I don't think there was an ad. I think we have a website that had some information about myself.
Okay. Now, in August of 22, up until when you saw Lindsay, how many patients in that month or so had you treated for postpartum psychosis?
How many patients in a month up until that
Yeah,
month?
I'm asking you about when you started working in August of 22 for Astor, and you are now on your own as an employee. How many patients had you treated before you saw Lindsay Clancy for postpartum psychosis?
Well, in the span of 1 month, I would say none because it's a very rare disorder.
Okay. But it exists, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
And one of the things would be the voices that people hear, right?
That is a symptom of psychosis. Absolutely.
And that's legitimate, isn't it?
It is a legitimate diagnosis. Absolutely.
No, not the diagnosis. People that have postpartum psychosis hear voices, do they not?
Many do. The disorder.
So this is smart of Reddington here because he knows that Dr. Tufts isn't going to say she had psychosis, but at the very least, he wants to establish that, okay, this is what psychosis can look like. What can it look like? Exactly what Lindsay said happened. So that's smart by Reddington here, getting her to at least confirm that.
Can manifest differently in different people, but yes, many people do hear voices.
How about postpartum depression? How many people in that month or so before you met Lindsay did you treat for postpartum depression?
In the span of 1 month, it's really hard to pinpoint that. Maybe a couple.
Maybe a couple? And do you recall how long you treated them for?
Again, it's hard to really pin down the individuals
Okay.
in a short span of time.
Can you tell the jury what you put in your ad or in the Astor website that you indicated that described you?
I don't recall.
Well, one of the things you did is that you said that you basically were a specialist in postpartum, people that have postpartum psychiatry. You indicated that on your website, didn't you?
Are you able to read the actual document? I don't remember exactly the wording.
Well, you've been working now for how many years now? 3 since you saw Lindsay? Or more?
Almost 4, yes.
You haven't changed your ad on the website, have you?
I have not personally, no.
And you've read it probably a bunch of times, right?
I've read it a couple of times, but I don't spend a lot of time on my website.
Okay. Do you recall that you indicated that you were specializing in any particular aspect of psychiatry?
Yes, it probably includes a special interest in women's health, in perinatal psychiatry, in trauma-related disorders, anxiety, and there may be some other things that were mentioned.
Yeah, like women that have babies and they're suffering from postpartum depression, right?
Absolutely.
You advertised that after a month in working for Asta, right?
That's listed as one of my interests.
So Dr. Tufts here got caught in the called the capitalist cookie jar, right? She's trying to advertise her services, a wet behind the ears psychiatrist, and so she puts women's mental health, perinatal psychiatry. Is she truly an expert in that? Ha! That's debatable, right? But she's marketing the services, and unfortunately for her, this is what happened with Lindsay, and so now it all comes back now. So I bet you she's wishing she didn't put that now.
Definitely.
And again, forgive me, how many women did you treat for postpartum?
Oh, there you go. Gifted at 1 Wizard of Radical Self-Respect membership. The YouTube Lords of Random, I trust, will find a good home for this Wizard of Radical Self-Respect membership. Whoever gets it, Thursday's member-only live stream. Chill&A Q&A. Thank you very much, Nanny Goat. Hartman says, can we talk about why she said sertraline was risky for young children up to age 24? Pfizer package insert, they say no, but she said she was trained that way. Very confusing. I guess we'll have to take a look at that. Because some of the new medicines, and even the very old medicines, I don't know as much about some of them. Like amitriptyline, the one that she was given right before the day. That was the last thing that happened. January 23rd, she got that amitriptyline. Old school. Daisy Duke. I love that name, Daisy Duke. Well, at least we like the name, Nanny Goat.
Depression in that month and a half before you met Lindsay?
I don't know, maybe a couple. But I've treated many of them in the residency, which was just immediately before.
So when a person needs to see a psychiatrist, generally they're not well. Is that fair?
Some are not well. It really can vary.
So when someone comes to see a psychiatrist like you, it's because they need help, right?
Yes.
And when they come to you because they need help, for example, with Lindsay Clancy, she came to you because of your ad, right? Or your website for Asta, what you said.
It also didn't help, though, in Dr. Tuft's defense. Lindsay didn't say anything about voices. She didn't say anything about voices. She didn't say anything about wanting to harm the kids. So if Lindsay didn't withhold that information, maybe it's more likely Dr. Tufts would have seen it correctly. Now, you could also say, though, in the same breath, that it's up to Dr. Tufts to get that out of her. It's up to Dr. Tufts to make her feel as safe and comfortable as possible, so she's going to be the most willing to share. Problem is telehealth. Problem is only 25-minute sessions at most. It's just hard. It's hard to build a rapport, even in 14 sessions, when you're only seeing them for 20 to 25 minutes at a time. So there's a bunch of It seems like a perfect storm in a way here.
about yourself?
I don't know exactly how she found us.
Well, do you know why she came to see you?
I'm not sure exactly.
I don't know how she answers that. How is she not sure what she came to see you for? Isn't the first thing, like you have an intake? Oh, Lindsay, what brings you into my office? That's the first thing, right? Now, they said generalized anxiety and they gave her an adjustment disorder. But that's what she would say, right? You're going to say, what brings you here? Let's start somewhere.
Friday, we spent a long period of time going through your initial or the initial intake that she had to fill out. Is that correct? You recall that?
Yes, we did.
And the district attorney kept asking you, and this is in September, is it September 12th? Is that when that form was filled out?
I believe she completed the form on the 12th. The appointment was on the 15th.
So what does a person do? Do they call you or do they talk to somebody in administration? How do you get the form to fill out?
Yes, our administration handles that.
And what do they do? How does that happen?
They send them the documents, probably by email, and the patient fills them out. Actually, it might be all within the portal that we use,
Within the portal?
the patient portal, yes.
Okay, and that means that you go online and you can access Astor Mental Health and then all these little drop-down boxes would come up?
Something like that.
Are you aware? Is something like that, or are you aware of what it does?
So because I don't handle
So we do know for sure she had the thoughts of harming the kids before. She didn't say that. So apparently it might just have been on the day, but I still think should have said harming the kids. She should have mentioned that.
the scheduling and the send you of forms.
But again, just because she didn't say it, does that mean it didn't happen? I don't know. It's hard to say.
I don't know exactly what it looks like.
Well, this is the form that you're giving a person that needs help because they're possibly mentally ill. Is that right?
Yes, and what's important is that I review the forms and we go through them in the appointment. Absolutely. Yes.
Now, understand that your records, Exhibit 219, I believe, the jury will have access to the Tufts records. Okay, you're aware of that, right? You know it's an exhibit.
Yes.
Because you have talked to the prosecution about what an exhibit is, and you know that your records are now in evidence before this jury, right?
If that's what you say, yes.
I wouldn't take what I say.
Well,
If you don't know, that's fine.
I don't know the details of how this works,
All right,
but
have you talked to them prior to your testimony?
no,
You haven't talked to the DA's office?
no, not at all.
You're a defendant in a very large lawsuit, are you not? Overruled.
Yes.
You wouldn't happen to be represented by an attorney, would you?
I am.
And the fact that you have an attorney is your right under the Constitution. It doesn't mean that you're guilty of anything, right?
Right.
Okay. And you know that the outcome of this case is very, very major to the outcome of your lawsuit.
Objection. Let's hear this. Overruled. Overruled. The objection's overruled. Not sustained. But here's the thing, right? So we do know Patrick heard about Lindsay saying that she had thoughts of harming the kids. Patrick did not know until after the killings, though, that she had heard a voice. And again, did Lindsay ever hear a voice before the days of the killing? Not that she has said so far. Does that mean it wasn't there? I don't know. But we do know she said she had thoughts of harming the kids. We do know that she said on the day of the killing there was the voice. Now, was there other days of voices? Not that she has said. So we don't know.
I don't actually know that.
So you understand that if, in fact, it's determined that you advertised as an expert in postpartum and in postpartum psychiatry, and you've had a month experience plus a residency, would you consider that to be negligent or misrepresentation?
I do not believe that I have been negligent.
Do you understand what misrepresentation means?
Yes.
With a month under your belt plus your residency, do you really want this jury to believe that you were an expert? Can you advertise that?
I don't think that's exactly the wording that I used. I think I said that it was an interest of mine.
You were what?
No, go ahead. Good, you answer that.
I just think the wording was that it's an interest of mine. I don't believe I called myself an expert.
Are you an expert in postpartum?
I may be. I don't know. I think it depends on what you define an expert as.
Well, when a patient...
Well, don't get it twisted. This prosecution's not very good. If Matt Murphy was the prosecutor, you would have the best chance for a conviction. Because again, the prosecution's only goal is to try to prove she was sane and not even her mental capacity wasn't even substantially impaired, right? That's their goal. And there are certain things they should be focusing on with that. That being said, they haven't done a good job at focusing on that. But there are things to say. Like you could be focusing on, well, Lindsay, this one voice is very convenient that this one voice only comes out on the day of the killing. How convenient. It's like the Shawshank Redemption. Oh, how convenient, Mr. Dufresne, that the gun was never found. And the judge was like, Mr. Dufresne, I find you a very icy and remorseless man. I sentence you to 2 life sentences back to back, 1 for each of your victims. So be it.
Comes to you, and they fill out the form. You agree with me that your records reflect that form that she filled out on September 12th of 2022, right?
Yes.
And the form that the district attorney went through painstakingly with you is basically, it looks something like this, right? That's one of the forms that you have people fill out, right? Right?
Yes.
You see the little check mark?
Yes.
Who puts the check mark in there?
The patient.
So how many pages, because I don't want to go through all the pages yet, how many pages does a patient, well, how many pages did Lindsay go through to check the boxes for acid?
There were a lot of pages.
It's a lot, 10, 20?
Yeah, maybe between 10 and 20.
Okay. And basically, they're all little checks in boxes, correct?
Not just checks.
No? So does the person then answer questions by typing in an answer such as, do you have any pending legal problems? No. Have you ever been arrested? No. Things of that nature, right?
Those are some of the questions.
And the questions also, do they ask the patient what medications they were on
Yes.
before seeing you?
Yes.
And Lindsay told you that she was on SSRIs in the past, right?
Yes.
And SSRI means what?
A selective serotonin reuptake inhibitor.
And that's pretty powerful stuff, isn't it?
It's an effective treatment for depression and anxiety.
Well, it affects the serotonin levels in the brain, doesn't it?
Yes.
It rewires the brain, doesn't it?
It doesn't rewire the brain. It increases the serotonin, and many individuals with depression have low levels of serotonin.
So Lindsay told...
That's going to get the people talking. The people that don't believe in the chemical imbalance theory, they're going to jump on that. People like Dr. Jennifer something or other. The hell's her name? From England? I can't remember. But she's all about, that's a myth. The chemical imbalance is a myth. Because here's the thing. You can't measure serotonin. There's no blood test for serotonin. There's no neurotransmitter test you can take. You only go by symptoms. What are the symptoms of low serotonin? Oh, like food cravings is a symptom. Erratic mood is a symptom, right? There's many symptoms of low serotonin. But she's saying, oh, you have low serotonin, you can increase it with the SSRIs or other antidepressants. Honestly, Shadow and I always have as a first line of defense, take supplements first. Take supplements before you start taking hardcore prescription meds. Now again, so Dr. Tufts is thinking, well, my job is to prescribe medications. So that's what they do. But I think there's other things to do before that. Because I'll stress again, as I've been saying, Lindsay only got worse under their care. That is a fact. She only got worse. In the beginning, it seems like her symptoms were much milder in the beginning. The generalized anxiety and worry about going back to work. She starts adding in these prescription meds to the routine, and they just get worse and worse and worse. Goes to McLean Hospital January 1st, comes out January 5th, talks to Tufts 4 more times, including the day before the killing. And it's just like she just didn't take enough initiative. She wasn't proactive enough. It's like she heard she was struggling, but it doesn't like, and she did say in this, if I had heard she had active thoughts of ending her life or harming her kids, I would have recommended inpatient. But what I would say to that is, well, considering that is what was going on, you got to try to get it out of her somehow. I mean, people's lives depend on it. Literally.
Told you that she had been prescribed an SSRI when she was in nursing school. Is that right?
Yes.
What was the SSRI?
Prozac.
And how long was she on the Prozac?
I'm not sure.
You never asked her.
I probably asked.
Probably asked. Isn't it true? Don't you guys have a saying that if it's not written, it didn't happen? You take copious notes, do you not?
It's impossible to write down every single thing that's said, so I write down what is clinically relevant, clinically necessary, but there's a lot that is discussed over an hour that is not able to be written down.
Such as the fact that a person was on an SSRI when they were in nursing school is not an important fact to find out.
Oh, no, that's important. Sorry.
No problem. I'm not doing, the Sophie Cunningham act. I'm just asking a question. That's all. And you can answer it, okay?
The Sophie Cunningham. Oh, going to give Reddington a job at the Chuckle Hut too. A headlining act.
How about if she had a reaction to Prozac?
I asked her about the
Is
Prozac.
that written in your notes?
Yes.
And what did she say?
She said that she took it for a period of time. She didn't mention any side effects.
Oh, she didn't tell you that she had side effects. I see. So when a patient comes to see you with a month under your belt and they're sick and they're looking for help, you wait for them to volunteer facts to you?
She volunteered a lot of information. She knew very well what her medical history was and was able to provide that for me.
Such as what? That she was in nursing school and took Prozac?
That's part of it.
So Reddington is making it seem like here Dr. Tufts wasn't asking her about specific side effects. This is where I'm talking about not being proactive enough. Like she was leaving it up to Lindsay to give her side effects. So you can see where that can go awry.
And she told you that, right?
Yes,
And she was pretty upfront and honest with you, wasn't she, in answering these questions, right?
I believe that she was.
We all spent some time talking about the fact that she declared that she had consumed alcohol, that she felt guilty about it. You called that on Friday? We dwelled on that for a while, didn't we?
Yes, that was a component, yes.
I mean, that's something that's important, right?
Yes,
What was her drink of choice?
I'm not sure.
Did you ever ask her?
I'm not sure. We were not concerned that her level of alcohol use
Well, the PA
was.
certainly was Friday, right?
All right, and everybody knows. Doctor, wait for the question, all right? And then same thing, I'll have counsel wait until you finish your answer, all right? Go ahead, Ms. Reddington.
So is it important, doctor, for you as a physician to know your patient? In other words, know who they are?
Yes.
And you know that Lindsay was a nurse, correct?
Yes.
You know that she graduated, obviously, from college, right?
Yes.
Is she a good student?
I don't recall.
Do you know when she got married?
I don't recall
Did you
that
ask her?
specific detail. I don't know. I knew she was married.
She had 3 kids, right?
Yes.
And the reason that you knew that she was married is because you spoke to her husband, Patrick, correct?
He
Or did
atten-
you?
Sorry?
Or did you?
He attended one of the appointments, and I spoke with him on that date.
Ah. And did you say, hi, how are you? And give him a handshake when you came in your office?
It was telemedicine.
It was what?
Telemedicine.
Telemedicine. Is it fair to say that after, 14, you said to the jury, 14 appointments that you had with Lindsay during that period from September till January? 14?
What you see, Sweet Caroline, is a lot of the medical professionals, not just the women, of course, the men and women, they can have a little bit of a smug attitude to them. The one with the worst smug was that ER doctor. That girl, she had the biggest toot of them all. But there can be an air of condescension, smugness, a little arrogance. I mean, it happens, right? They do all this education, and then they think they're something special, a little bit. Now, I mean, Dr. Tufts, she's a little mousy, and I think she is getting a little maybe irritable here, or irritated. But again, it's important though. Like, these things matter. These things matter because people's lives are on the line.
Yes.
Every single one of them were by telemedicine, weren't they?
Yes.
Until you came in this courtroom Friday, you never saw this woman in person, did you?
Correct.
Were you ever concerned about her mental health as a person?
Absolutely.
She was crying. She told you symptoms that she couldn't get out of bed. Isn't that right?
At one time, she said it was difficult to get out of bed
Oh, difficult to get out. Why was it difficult for Lindsay Clancy to get out of bed?
because she was very depressed.
And did you give her a hug? Oh, no, you're on telemedicine, so you
And I agree with that, Jamie. I mean, when someone's on prescription meds, you would think asking about side effects is one of the main questions. Like, oh, are you experiencing side effects? I guess maybe, and I bet you sometimes the hesitancy would be a doctor would say side effects, and they think, oh no, I'm going to put the idea there's side effects in their head, so they're going to say there is, even if there isn't. But you should be asking about side effects because it's well known there can be side effects. Look at the fast voices on the commercials. Some of those side effects are pretty gnarly.
couldn't give her a hug, could you? You didn't have any chance to even look at her in person, did you?
I could look at her. It was always a video appointment. I couldn't give her a hug, but that's not actually something that psychiatrists typically do with patients.
I imagine. Now, I'm looking at you, and you've got the witness stand cutting you off in half, right? So I can't see from your waist down, your legs, your feet, your hands, anything. That's the same view that you have on the telemedicine, right?
Yes.
Isn't it fair to say that you've studied and that you've learned that there are objective manifestations that patients may have that would be a tell, like if you're playing poker, you have a tell, that would be an indicia of the fact that they're stressed or emotionally disturbed, right?
Yes.
Like hand wringing, right?
Yes.
Were you able to see the hands wringing when you were on telemedicine?
I don't recall seeing her hands.
You recall, you know how people sit there and they do this with their leg and the leg bounces because they're going through some type of emotional stress? You couldn't even see her legs, could you?
I couldn't see her legs, but I knew that she was under stress.
So when she came to you, September 15th, I believe, is the first time that you all actually discussed her condition, correct?
Yes.
And looking at the medical records, which the jury will be able to look at, it says, visit date, September 15th, 2022, and you can look along with me if you wish, indicates why she came to see you, right?
Yes.
Right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Why did she come to see you? According, not guessing and speculating, never mind the TV. You just look at your notes. Tell me what brought Lindsay Clancy to your office.
Postpartum anxiety.
Is that it? Is that what you noted in the records?
Well, those were her words when asked, what are the problems for which you are seeking help?
I see. Postpartum anxiety. Now, as a psychiatrist, meeting with this young woman after a month or so of working as a psychiatrist for Astor, there are tests that you administer to a woman who's in postpartum to find out what type of anxiety they have, right?
Well, there are some screening tests, but the most important thing is what the patient tells you and what my assessment is in the session.
I see. And that would carry through the Tufts evaluations for all 14 of those meetings, is what the patient tells you, right?
Yes, and what I observe in the session
Through the television.
through the computer.
What, if you can tell me, is the Edinburgh test?
It is a scale that looks at symptoms of postpartum depression.
And when you administer, that's a major test, isn't it, for a doctor to evaluate a patient for PPD?
I wouldn't say it's a major test.
It's a pretty big one, though, isn't it? It's the only one that measures the postpartum depression, right?
It's a common one.
So what?
Commonly used.
Commonly. All right, so when you used it on Lindsay, when was that administered to her?
I did not use it on Lindsay.
Why?
We used the PHQ-9, which
What
is
PHQ-9?
it's a depression screening form.
That's like generalized anxiety disorder, general depression.
And this is where the diagnosis matters. Because this is where I think it would matter. Postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis, to me, that's more hormonal. That's more possible thyroid dysfunction because you've given birth. Your body is changing in hormones. So that's why the postpartum part matters. The other just regular depression scale, I think, it can apply, but in a situation like this, not as much. Like now, you got to see it correctly. Dr. Simon always says it. If you don't see it correctly, you're not going to be able to treat it correctly. And I think that's what we've seen here.
It's got nothing to do with a woman suffering from postpartum depression, does it?
I disagree.
Well, do you agree that...
Disagree? There could be overlaps, but it's certainly a different thing in my opinion. The postpartum part makes a difference. It's not the same as just a regular depression that's not postpartum. Does anyone disagree with me on that? I think it's a different thing. And those subtleties matter. Dr. Tufts disagrees, though. Can you believe that, Shadow? Dr. Tufts disagrees.
People, perhaps that may know a little more than you, determined that the Edinburgh scale is the appropriate scale to administer to a pregnant or postpartum woman.
Sustained as the form.
You're familiar with the Edinburgh scale, right?
I've heard of it.
And can you explain to me how it's graded?
No, I cannot.
There are 30 questions in it, are there not?
I don't use this scale, so I don't know how many questions there are.
So the Edinburgh scale, do you even know that the cutoff for someone that is depressed in their condition of postpartum would be 15? Anything over that, they're in severe depression?
Okay.
Nanny Goat. Nanny Goat says, Dr. Simon says to spank the like button and leave your DNA of choice on the like button. And like the video if you think postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis is different than just regular depression. We think so. Make sure you're subscribed to the video if you're not already. Tell a few friends that you think would fit in here about the flock of black sheep, because we do have an awesome and supportive community here. As always, super chats, super stickers, and becoming a channel member or gifting channel memberships, great ways to support the channel. They help me pay for Shadow the Night Owl's soy-free hoodie snacks, so we love that. He's very hormone conscious, unlike perhaps our friend Dr. Jennifer Tufts here. Shadow would like a word with you, Dr. Tufts, about the importance of hormones and the importance of the thyroid, Dr. Tufts. And Shadow says, why not? If you're a women's mental health and perinatal psychiatrist expert, why not use the Edinburgh scale? Shadow's got questions. Shadow approves of Kevin Reddington's line of questioning. I usually go live, by the way, 5 or 6 nights a week to talk about true crime, current events, and psychology. I do a lot of interviews here. As Dr. Peter Salerno's gotten more and more popular, I've done a bunch of interviews with him. Probably 10 to 13-ish. I've talked to Dr. George Simon several times, one of them with Dr. Salerno. Who else? Dr. Z, Dr. Kerry McAvoy, Matt Murphy, the prosecutor, Laura. I'm in touch. I want to talk to him about this case, actually. I'm trying to get that in the works, and so hopefully that can happen. Who else? I'm going to try to get some more interesting people to come up again. I wouldn't mind talking to Dr. Fiona Gherkin again in the future. I like talking to her too. And we'll see. We'll see what the future has in store for us. And thank you very much for all of the support that Shadow and I have been getting so far.
You know that her first Edinburgh test that was administered to her put her at a 23
Objection.
Overall.
severe depression?
I was not aware of this test. I was not aware that this had been administered to her.
Well, you know that except for the Prozac that she had when she was a nurse, what, 23, 24, 23 years old, she hadn't, other than seeing her own doctor for having a baby, she hadn't seen any doctors. You knew that, right?
I didn't know exactly which doctor she sees. I think we ask about your primary care doctor, but she did not report any other medical issues that she was under treatment for.
So is it important for Dr. Jennifer Tufts to know whether or not a patient who is coming to you for help has a prior medical history other than what they might tell you?
So considering, here's the thing, B. She wouldn't have been able to diagnose her with postpartum psychosis because Lindsay withheld too much. But that being said, even just recognizing it as postpartum depression, you might have been able to get on the right track. Because just with postpartum depression, you might have said, okay, I should refer you to an endo so you can get your thyroid checked. And then maybe they'll check your hormone levels as well. And at the very least, you can rule it out if it's not a thing. Like if she got her thyroid checked, what do you think they would have found? Would they have found the thyroid wasn't functioning properly? And it doesn't take the psychosis symptoms to do that. All it would require is understanding, oh, this looks like postpartum depression. Because I agree, she didn't give the information about that. And Patrick didn't tell them the information about that. So how are they going to know? I mean, you're probably not going to think psychosis, you'd think depression. And hopefully you would think postpartum depression. And if there's anything this case does, that's what it's going to make people think in the future. Well, after birth, what's it going to be? Postpartum depression. Don't rule it out.
Well, when patients are able to advocate for themselves and share their medical history, we rely on what they tell us.
Was she able to advocate for herself, in your opinion, when she came to see you, when you evaluated her in September?
Absolutely.
How about October?
Yes.
How about November?
Yes.
How about December?
Yes.
And your medical records, you would agree, show that during that period of time that she was deteriorating, was a word that was used on Friday. Isn't that right?
So
No, so. You used the word deteriorating on Friday, did you not?
she was a little bit worse at certain appointments, and the deteriorating word, which is not my word choice, is what is in the note because I had to select that.
Because why? You have some kind of a program that you have to check the box and you have to bring down the drop box? You can't take a pen and write something down about a patient?
There are certain parts of the note where I can write whatever I feel is necessary, but that specific aspect of the note is a button where you have to click one of three choices.
So when the jury's going through your medical records, one of the things that they're going to see is that when you meet with a patient, you have a form that you fill out where it says, if you feel like you're going to harm yourself or somebody else, make sure you go to the emergency room, right?
Yes.
If you have any urges to harm yourself or others, go to the nearest emergency room. That's in every single time that you meet with a patient, right?
Yes.
And it indicates that
Start sertraline 25 milligrams a day for 1 week, then increase to 50 milligrams. What is that, the brand name for sertraline? Let's look it up. Sertraline is Zoloft. It is sertraline.
if there's any, call the Suicide Prevention and Crisis Hotline. If you feel that you're in crisis, you may text home to a particular number anytime. What's a suicide hotline?
It's a phone number that patients in crisis can call and speak to a trained counselor.
Now, a psychiatrist, you'd agree with me, is not a counselor, that's for sure, right?
Well, a psychiatrist has training in therapy as well as in medicine.
Did you give Lindsay Clancy any therapy?
There was some therapy incorporated in our sessions,
Like
but
what?
we did
Like what?
providing emotional support, listening to her.
Hold on, no, please.
Hold on, everybody. She can. You ask the question, I'm going to let her finish, and then you can follow up with any questions you want. Go ahead, Doc.
Anything else you want to say?
So her sessions were largely focused on the medication management, but there was an aspect of therapy including those items.
Okay, and the sessions were for what, 17 minutes?
No,
How long were they?
25 to 30 minutes.
So 25 to 30 minutes on the television, and were you face the TV screen with her for the full 25 minutes?
Yes.
And that's not noted in your records. It says 17 minutes in all your records, doesn't it?
So if you look closely, it says the therapy component was for 17 minutes. It doesn't say the entire duration is.
So that's where I was seeing the 17 minutes. So the therapy component's 17 minutes. The other 8 to 13 minutes is about medicine. Either way, that's not enough time. 17 minutes of therapy is like, that's just not enough time. Because realistically, unless you instantly jump in, I mean, you're going to have a 2 to 3 minute like buffer usually. So just not enough time.
17 minutes.
So what do you do when you're trying to give therapy? therapy with her?
I listened to her. I listened to her concerns and provided support. I tried to provide her with hope that eventually things would improve.
Hope's the strategy? Well, Dr. Shadow says, as the psychiatrist should know, Dr. Shadow says, when it comes to mental health, you got to get that lens correct, right? That's one thing. And if that lens isn't correct that you're seeing the world through, you're not going to be able to do much more than that. So you've tried medicines, that's not working. Now you have to take a step back and say, okay, what's going on here in the body? Let's look at the full picture here. That's where the thyroid and the other hormones come into play. And then there's other specific therapies. There's cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy. There's trauma therapies like EMDR and brain spotting. But that doesn't really sound like what was going on here. Kind of seems like the therapy she got was emotional encouragement. Now, emotional encouragement has its place, but she needed a little more than that.
So you listen to her concerns, and you'd agree with me that her concerns were, for example, that she actually was unable to sleep. It's one of her concerns, right?
She was having a lot of difficulty with sleep.
On the September 15th meeting, you indicate that her mood was okay, but her affect was anxious, and you called it incongruent. What does that mean?
Dr. Shadow says, remember the saying, you can hope in one hand and shit in the other.
So she said she was feeling okay. She appeared anxious, and she also stated that she was anxious.
So one of the things that you talked about Friday is when a patient presents with an incongruent something or other, I don't remember, appearance perhaps, that would mean that they're saying, I'm okay, but they don't look like they're okay, right?
Well, it could. I don't think her affect and her mood were really that incongruent at that time. I think that she didn't appear terribly depressed. I didn't say she was terribly depressed in that initial visit, but she said she was anxious and she appeared anxious. That's pretty congruent.
Okay. So did you put in the report that she was congruent or incongruent?
So that is not an option for me to indicate in that section, but
So-
it was congruent.
You're like a robot. You can't take a pen and write something down. You have to do the drop box and the X's on the computer.
Well, if it's on the computer, I'm limited by the options that are up there
You're a doctor. Why are you limited?
because of the technology.
This is a bad answer, honestly, right? You're limited to their Dropbox. Now, I wonder if this is where insurance BS comes into play. And they say, well, you have to click one of these or this won't be reimbursed. But in all reality, there should definitely be a fill in the blank writing section as well, which there probably should be, and there probably is. But how much do they write in them? I don't know. I think she mentions that coming up here.
What technology? The fact that there's a form on a computer? You're trying to treat a human being who comes to you for help.
And that's what's most important. What's most important was the treatment, not what is checked off on a box.
Makes sense. So you were unable to make a note as to whether or not her affect and her mood appeared to be in conflict and that she would have been incongruent and that she had poor insight. You couldn't write that down. Is that right? Because the box doesn't let you.
Correct.
The almighty box. The box rules all. What does the box do? The box is almost certainly for insurance and billing purposes. But that box rules all. You can't overcome the box.
So basically, she's telling you that I'm okay. Well, actually, when she came, do you know that she never saw, other than when she was in nursing school, would it surprise you, a psychiatrist? And that was only for like a week when she got the Prozac in nursing school because she was afraid of public speaking? Did you know that?
I was aware that she did not have a significant past psychiatric history. I was aware of that.
Okay, so you were the first psychiatrist that she had the pleasure of meeting. Is that correct?
I think it was.
And isn't that important for you as a doctor to take a history?
I did take a history.
So can you tell us? You're testifying here for the government. Tell us whether or not she had any past psychiatric history other than in nursing school for a week with the Prozac.
She did not report any other past psychiatric history other than the Prozac and Wellbutrin.
So when a patient comes to see you and you're treating to help that patient, if they don't report something to you, you don't know about it apparently, right?
Well, I think it depends. There are certainly things I can assess, but if it's related to their history, I do need them to tell me.
Well, you can't assess it unless you ask, right?
Unless I ask or they volunteer it or they...
Of course.
That was a good question by Bennington. Unless you ask. And then she deflects with, well, unless she volunteers it. But as we know, that was not really happening in this case. It's up to Dr. Tufts to get it out of her.
We already talked about the volunteering. How about you as a doctor, when you're evaluating a patient coming to you for help, do you ask them questions?
Yes,
You didn't ask her prior history.
I did.
What did she tell you?
She said that her prior history was what we discussed about the Prozac in the nursing school.
So, basically, other than hoping to give her hope, is what you said, for the therapy. How do you give someone hope for therapy? The other doctor.
Try to encourage them and...
What did you encourage her on September 15th?
Sorry?
What did you encourage her to give her hope on September 15th?
What did I encourage her?
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly the words. It was
Did you write
almost
it
4
down in
years
your
ago.
records?
No, we don't write those, details of
Well, that's
everything
the
that was
therapy
said.
you're talking about, right? Yes?
Yes.
And you don't write down the therapy you give a patient in the records, right?
Well, I write something about it.
You write it
I
down.
mentioned
No,
that.
Excuse me.
Hold on.
So yes or no?
Hold on. You let her finish the question. You listen to the question and answer just what they ask, okay? Go ahead. You could rephrase that question, Counsel.
No, I'll let her answer.
All right.
I mentioned that I provided supportive therapy.
What is supportive therapy?
It's listening to the patient's concerns and providing emotional support and validation.
So emotional support and validation all sounds good. Here's a young woman who is what, 20, 29, 30 years old, came to see you?
Yes.
And came to see you for help, right?
Yes.
Told you she couldn't sleep and she was anxious, correct?
Yes.
You know that she was postpartum, correct?
Yes.
You know that as a patient who was postpartum. By the way, what is your opinion of the period of postpartum wherein one can have postpartum depression or, more importantly, postpartum psychosis? What's the time frame?
Good question. What's the time frame? What's her opinion on postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis? Let's see what she says.
It's typically 1 year.
So she was well within that time frame, correct?
Yes.
And you tried to provide therapy by giving her hope. And how long do you figure did that take? 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 2 minutes?
I'm not sure. I think it was different in each session.
Okay. So The only thing that you diagnosed Lindsay with on September 15th was GAD, Generalized Anxiety Disorder, correct?
It was generalized anxiety disorder as well as an adjustment disorder with depressed mood.
And you prescribed medications to her, right?
Yes,
And the medication that you provided to her was the sertraline, right?
yes,
And the sertraline would be Zoloft, right?
yes,
Now, this is a little chart that shows the prescriptions that Lindsay was on. And you are the yellow colors. They're the Tufts. Okay? You can see that. Would you agree with me that on September 15th, you prescribed sertraline, Zoloft, 30 count on September 15th, 25 milligrams, right?
yes.
Have you ever read the website for sertraline?
The website for sertraline?
Yeah. I mean, sertraline, Zoloft, is a chemical that is marketed as a pharmaceutical, right?
Yes,
Right? It's a pill, right?
yes,
And as we said, it's an SSRI pill, correct?
yes.
Do you know that Zoloft is not indicated for generalized anxiety? Why'd you give her Zoloft?
It is a very effective medication for generalized anxiety disorder.
So you're familiar with the drug labeling for Zoloft, is that correct?
Generally,
Generally. Are you aware of what the manufacturer of Zoloft indicates it can be used for, to treat?
I'm aware that it's used to treat various forms of anxiety disorders as well as major depression.
So when Lindsay came to see you, you know that she had stopped breastfeeding her son, right?
Not at the time of the first appointment.
When did she stop breastfeeding? In October?
Something around then.
You know that she had little or no psychiatric history other than seeing you, correct?
And the Prozac, yes.
You know that, in fact, that she had stopped drinking whatever it was that she was drinking, because you never asked, right?
I was not concerned about her level of drinking.
Well, it's in your form, right?
That was at the intake, but
Wait, did you know that she wasn't drinking when you were meeting with her, correct?
yeah, that's what she told me.
Okay, and you believe what she told you, right?
Yes,
So when she sees you,
So she said she wasn't concerned about the drinking. The same drinking that was 5 nights a week, 1 to 2 drinks a night, that she felt guilty about. That drinking, that she wasn't concerned about that. And prescribing prescription medications while that's happening. That seems a little off to me.
she's not on any psychiatric antitropics or whatever they're called medications, correct? She wasn't on any medication.
correct.
And she had stopped drinking anything, whatever it may have been, right?
I'm not sure when she completely stopped drinking, but yes.
You don't know when she started, when she stopped, what she drank, do you?
Well, I was not concerned that she was an alcoholic.
That's a yes or no.
Oh my God, this is horrible. So this is like, you have to know, 1 to 2 drinks, 5 nights a week on SSRIs like Zoloft and benzos and all these other things, that is certainly something to be concerned about, especially if someone's sensitive. I mean, that seems ridiculous. Like, you have to know about these interactions here. And so she doesn't even know the answer. She doesn't even know the answer if she stopped. That's also unacceptable, by the way. Like, you have to know. Maybe it got worse. Maybe she drank more. But you don't know. How don't you know?
Did you have any idea? Because we spent a long time on Friday talking about her guilt and that she drank alcohol. You don't know what she drank, when she started, when she stopped, do you?
I know some details about her alcohol use, but it was overall minimal.
What were the details then? Tell me what the details were. There was that one little box that was checked off. What other details were there?
That she drank 1 to 2 times a week, 1 to 2 servings 5 times a week.
And you don't know what it was? You have no idea, right?
I think she had mentioned at some point that it was calming. It was something that was
what? I'm
helpful.
sorry.
Calming.
Calming. Okay,
Calming.
so it was numbing. It was like trying to numb something, I guess, right?
That's one way of saying it.
I mean, I imagine you've treated veterans that have post-traumatic stress disorder, right?
Yes.
And would you agree with me that many times when people have an anxiety disorder or PTSD, or whatever the case may be, they try to numb their feelings? Is that fair?
Sometimes they do.
And sometimes they use alcohol, right?
Sometimes they do.
But we don't know what alcohol she did. We don't even know if it was a beer, do we?
I didn't think that was relevant for her.
So, with all of that,
That seems like a major misstep, though, because that wasn't nursing school. She's talking about presently. She might have drank also in nursing school, but presently, when all of these issues are here, I mean, to me, adding prescription medications on top of 1 to 2 drinks a night, 5 nights a week, that she felt guilty about, can certainly create a bunch of issues. Clearly. I mean, it should be obvious. So this seems to be one of the bigger missteps to me. One of the bigger oversights by Dr. Tufts.
that information, you then prescribed Zoloft to her, correct?
Yes.
You went over the side effects of Zoloft, sertraline, I imagine, with her, right?
Yes.
Did you tell her that one of the known side effects is suicidal thoughts and actions and ideation?
Well, that's specifically in children, so I don't think I mentioned that because it wasn't relevant.
Specifically in children, I think it's across the board, no?
Not really. Suicidal ideation and homicidal ideation. There's a black box warning on Zoloft, along with other SSRIs, right?
Under
Yes
age,
or no?
for children and adults younger than Lindsay.
Doctor, I apologize. Can you just listen to my question and answer it yes or no? Is there a black box warning on Zoloft?
Yes.
Okay. And a black box warning is required or prescribed by what, the FDA?
Probably.
Probably. And it basically warns that, especially with young people or young adults, that it may cause suicidal or, God forbid, homicidal ideation. Yes?
Yes.
And you're aware that, in fact, the FDA has determined that that goes up possibly to a 23, 24, 25-year-old. You know that, right?
I think 24 is
24.
what they
Yeah,
say.
I'll give you 24. It's possible, is it not, that the SSRIs that get into a person's brain affect a person that's 3 or 4 years older than the FDA cutoff with suicidal ideation or homicidal ideation? It's possible?
There's a lot of development that happens in the brain between ages like up to 24 and closer to 30. The brain is fully matured at past age 24, and so it's less vulnerable than in a younger individual.
So with 24, you're suggesting as a cutoff, are you suggesting to the jury that a drug that increases the risk of suicide in a 24-year-old patient cannot increase the risk of suicide in a 29 or a 30-year-old patient? Just a little bit.
I don't believe there's evidence that it causes that at all in individuals over 24.
So, as a psychiatrist who had the ability to issue these types of medications to patients and citizens, what research did you do on Zoloft and suicidal ideation, homicidal ideation?
I was taught extensively about SSRIs and suicidal ideation in my training.
Right?
In Vermont, in Boston, yes.
Okay, so in Vermont was when you get your medical degree, right?
Yes,
And in Boston would be when you were a resident, right?
yes,
And then you had board certification on general psychiatry, right?
yes.
You can have a certification on the subspecialty, right?
There are certain subspecialties, yes.
Right, and some of the subspecialties deal with postpartum or women that are pregnant and have babies and have psychiatric symptomology.
There's no board certification for perinatal or reproductive psychiatry.
Well, there are plenty of classes that are recognized as, for example, at Harvard Medical School, there's an annual class or symposium, if you will, for postpartum. Have you ever been to that?
No, sir.
What have you done to research or to improve your education? I understand you went to med school and that you were a resident. What programs, continuing education, symposiums have you attended since you got the ability to prescribe these medicines to people?
I have not attended a symposium.
Have you attended anything?
I have not, but I have done a lot of reading on my own, of research and guidelines about this area in psychiatry.
Did you tell Lindsay when you were going, because one of the things that you guys are always concerned about is what's called informed consent, right?
Yes,
And what is informed consent? What does that mean?
it
In a
means
medical sense, not just like out in the street or something.
explaining to a patient the risks and benefits of treatment and possible alternatives, and making sure that the patient understands what you're saying.
Now, when you were going over the symptomology or when you were going over the side effects of Zoloft, one of the side effects of Zoloft is, and I quote, severe trouble sleeping, right?
Yes.
Did you tell her that?
Well, insomnia is listed as a side effect.
No. You already said yes, you know it. Just, did you tell her that Zoloft has a side effect of giving the patient severe trouble sleeping? That's all.
So I didn't use the word severe because it typically doesn't cause severe trouble sleeping, but I thought you were referring to when she told me that she did have severe trouble sleeping,
Well,
and that
that's
was
what
true.
she told you, right? That she had severe trouble sleeping, right?
She told me, yes.
And you know that one of the side effects of Zoloft is, let's say, trouble sleeping. You know that, right?
Yes.
Your answer is yes. The jury has to be able to hear you.
Yes.
And why would you prescribe Zoloft to a young woman who's postpartum, who's coming to you with anxiety, who's telling you she can't sleep, she's got all of these symptoms, and you prescribe a medication that would have a side effect of trouble sleeping?
So individuals have very varied responses to medications. Some have no side effects, some have one or two. It's impossible to predict, but Zoloft is a top choice, a first-line medication for
Says
her.
who?
It was
Says who?
says it's the general consensus
Well, know
among
about the lawsuits
psychiatrists.
against
Hold on,
Zoloft, right?
again, you can't have both of you talking at the same time. So let her finish her answer, and then I'll give you plenty of time to follow up any questions regarding her answer. So, you finish your answer on that?
There's extensive research supporting the use of sertraline in this instance, and the general consensus among psychiatrists is that it's a first-line safe medication for individuals, including postpartum women.
How about the kids that shoot other kids in high schools and the lawsuits that come out of that against Zoloft? You read about them?
Overrule.
Sorry? I wasn't sure what the question was.
The question was, in response to your observation about how all the psychiatrists or the psychiatrists think it's a very, very safe, wonderful first-line drug, and you researched it. How about the kids that kill other kids in schools with the lawsuits that arise out of the use of SSRIs? Have you ever researched that?
I don't know much about that.
You know about the SSRIs and it messing with someone's brain, they go out and they shoot people for no reason, right?
I'm not aware that that's linked to SSRIs.
So you didn't really talk to her about increased risk of suicide, and 24-year-olds are down because she's 4 or 5 years older than that. You didn't talk to her about the trouble sleeping that can be a side effect, but she describes that there's other drugs that you could have given her that would be perfectly safe and calming and allow someone with no psychiatric history to sleep better, right?
Not necessarily.
Okay, so you prescribed her with the Zoloft. It was 25 milligrams, right?
Yes.
And when you prescribed her with the Zoloft, 25 milligrams, was that increased up to 0.05 milligrams, or did you increase it at some point?
The instructions were to increase it to 50 after 1 week.
After 1 week.
Yes.
And you expected that she would listen to your instructions, right?
Yes.
And she did, right?
She waited about a month, but then yes, she did.
Why did she wait a month?
I think it took her some time to decide whether that was truly what she wanted to do.
Right, she was afraid of the drugs, wasn't she?
She was afraid of side effects.
And she didn't want to take the pills, did she?
She eventually did want to take the pills because she wanted to feel better.
A month later, right?
Yes.
So you prescribe the Zoloft, SSRI, and then you tell her after a week to increase it, and she doesn't take that medication for a month, correct?
Correct.
And then she did take the medication, right?
Yes.
And did you meet with her or talk to her before she actually started to implement that particular regimen?
I had met with her beforehand, but I was not aware of when she made the decision to go ahead and take it.
So
I would say this. I mean, Lindsay did try to get help. She just didn't help herself a little bit in the process by withholding things. Yeah, it didn't help. But she was trying. But that's the thing when it comes to mental health and severe issues. Like, it's tough. The mental health gets in the way. So, if she truly wasn't trying, I mean, she wouldn't be showing up to these sessions. She wouldn't have seen Dr. Tufts 14 times and then checked herself into McLean and then saw the other therapist October 3rd and October 31st. She did try. It's just like she just didn't do it like perfectly. But to be fair, many people don't do it perfectly. It's one of the reasons why treating mental health and addiction, by the way, is so difficult, because there's so many pieces of the puzzle that can go wrong.
you met her on the 15th of September, right?
Yes.
When was the next time you met her?
Can I check?
Sure, of course, absolutely. You can look at anything you want.
September 28th?
And on September 28th, did you discuss with her the fact that she was afraid to take the Zoloft?
Yes.
And did you recommend that she do that?
Well, she said that she was feeling better at that point and
It's
wasn't
a
sure.
real easy question. When you talked with her, did you recommend that she increase or take the Zoloft?
At that visit, I don't think that I did.
Okay. So when did she actually take the Zoloft?
So again, like Lindsay did some things that weren't the best, but if Dr. Tufts was better and more experienced, she would have gotten to the bottom of it. For example, like just talking about the drinking thing. Dr. Tufts should have been on that. I could almost guarantee you no one's telling you should be drinking on SSRIs and benzos and antihistamines. Certainly not. It counteracts it. Alcohol is a depressant. Even 1 to 2 drinks, and let's face it, could have been more than that too. That's a depressant. How can you drink a depressant and then be surprised when you're still depressed? So that's where Dr. Tufts should have came in and said, oh, you mentioned this drinking. What's going on with that? Instead, she didn't mention it at all. she doesn't even know if it stopped. I mean, that's on Dr. Tufts. And here's the thing, though. If Dr. Tufts talks to her about the drinking, and then it doesn't improve, well, then that's not on Dr. Tufts anymore. Then that's on Lindsay now. So, again, Dr. Tufts has to do everything in her power, but it seems like she did miss a couple things here. That, the thyroid, the Edinburgh test, a few things. Not knowing about the suicide hotline calls.
She told me in her October 20th visit that she had taken it 1 week prior.
And she told you that when she increased it in accordance with your instructions, she went off the rails, right?
I don't think she used those words, but she had
What words did
side
she use
effects.
for you as her doctor?
She felt awful.
Awful. Why did she feel awful? Did she have a stomach ache? Did she have a headache? Why did she feel awful?
She did have some stomach aches. She had some diarrhea and had a difficult time eating. She also had increased anxiety. She had some more depressed feelings. She had more difficulty sleeping.
And what was your advice to her as her doctor on the 28th of October, after she told you about the effect the Zoloft had on her?
I told her to stop it, stop the medication.
Okay. Now, Zoloft being an SSRI, and a patient that is taking the Zoloft, in the 0.05, we spent Friday afternoon going over the drugs, and 0.05 milligrams is the lowest dose and all that. That's the dose that is prescribed to people, invariably, correct?
It goes up to 200, but that is a starting dose.
For pretty much all of you psychiatrists would agree with that, right? 0.05, right?
50.
50, okay. And you then told her to stop?
Yes.
What does it mean to titrate something?
To slowly increase the amount.
What do you tell patients when they're on an SSRI as to weaning them off the SSRIs?
Depends what the dose is. If it's a high dose, you need to slowly decrease the dose, so kind of the opposite of titration. But if it's a low dose to begin with, you can stop it.
Are you supposed to tell a person that's on an SSRI to stop immediately or to slowly withdraw from it?
At 50 milligrams, it is perfectly fine to stop it immediately.
So you didn't have any concerns at all about telling her to immediately stop taking the Zoloft? And what did you do, put her on another drug?
Not immediately.
Okay. So did she relate to you on that October 28th meeting that you had? Was it the 28th or the 26th?
I met with her the 21st and then the 26th.
Okay. Now, on the 26th of October, what did she tell you her condition was?
So she was feeling back to how she was before the Zoloft, which is not great still, and that she was considering a new medication.
So she was considering it. Did she do research on medication as to what medication she wanted to take? Is that what you're telling this jury?
She didn't specify exactly what medication she wanted to take, but that she wanted to try something else because she was still having significant anxiety.
So when you say she wanted to try something else, I'm just asking, did you tell her what you recommended she try, or is that something that she decided she'd do on her own?
No, I gave her my recommendation.
Okay. The only reason why I ask that is that, you know, a lot of times people might think that she's a psychopharmacologist, that she's a heart surgeon, that she's a vascular surgeon, that she knows everything about medicine. That's not true, is it?
No.
Would you agree with me that prior to telling her to stop the Zoloft, that one of the concerns that you had is that Zoloft affects anxiety and affects sleep, and you hope that it treats the underlying anxiety by balancing brain chemistry and increasing serotonin, right?
Yes.
Is that fair? And you'd agree with me that it does, as a side effect, have an impact on a person's falling asleep or staying asleep, as a common side effect, right?
It can happen. It doesn't happen to everyone, but it certainly happens to some. But it is temporary. That's the important distinction. Is that there are many side effects that disappear entirely, and then the medicine is quite helpful for those certain conditions.
That's it.
Yes.
She had problems sleeping, didn't she?
Yes.
Even after the Zoloft, right?
Yes.
So you, not her, you recommended a particular drug that she should take, right?
Yes.
And again, as it relates to what one would expect a young woman who's a labor and delivery nurse to know about psychiatric medication, what is methadone? Do you know?
I'm sorry?
Methadone.
I'm not sure.
How about hermababate, B-A-T-E, H-E-R-M-A-B-A-T-E? How about that? You ever heard of that?
I'm not familiar with that.
That's what's used to administer to a woman who's going through birth. You don't have an obligation to know that, do you?
No.
You have an obligation to know about psychiatric medications, though, right?
Yes.
There's a difference between what's known as nescience, which is not knowing what you have no duty to know, and ignorance, which is you don't know what you should know. Is that fair?
Yes.
So, did you ever gauge Lindsay's knowledge or ability to judge what medication would be good for her?
So that was my role.
Right.
I didn't expect her to know significantly the details about different psychiatric medications.
Is it important to know that a woman that's coming to you because of postpartum issues, shall we say, had prior problems in prior deliveries?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that you're on the front line of healthcare for pregnant women when someone comes to see you, either pregnant or after having a baby, right?
They're usually referred by a therapist or an OB, but yes.
Okay. So being on the front line and dealing with these people, and you advertise that you deal with pregnant people before they have babies, right?
Yes.
And after, correct?
Yes.
Did she have any prior issues with her prior babies?
I knew that she had had some anxiety symptoms with her prior, after her prior child was, after her second child was born.
And that would be Dawson?
Yes.
And when she saw you after having Callan, how old was Dawson?
A few years old, maybe 2 or 3.
Did she tell you what the side effects were after she had Dawson?
She did. I did not list them because,
Excuse me, that means you didn't write it down?
yes.
So what is it, your memory that we'll go by that, right?
Sorry?
We'll go by your memory?
Go by my memory about what? I don't recall exactly which side effects she said, but I recall that they were some of the very common ones, the ones that are temporary.
Hold on. You're telling this jury that you don't recall what the side effects were that she told you, but your memory is that they were general, common? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, because if they were anything else, I would have documented it.
Well, how about she took Zoloft? Did she take Zoloft, SSRI, after having Dawson?
I think she took it for about a week.
You think? Or she did?
She did.
So isn't that something that would be indicative of the fact that there was some psychiatric issues after she had her second child?
Yes, but she did not describe them as being severe.
Well, as a psychiatrist, can you ask her whether or not they're severe, or do you just wait for them to tell you?
Based on her description, they did not sound severe.
Tell me about bipolar. What's bipolar?
Bipolar is a mood disorder that has both depressive episodes as well as episodes of mania.
And is it your understanding that if a person has a difficult birth and in fact has some psychiatric attributes as a result of that difficult birth, that you should not prescribe SSRIs to that person because they could be bipolar?
Having a difficult birth does not, it's not a contraindication to an SSRI.
So after she had her second child, she took Zoloft, and you did not detail any side effects, and you don't remember any side effects. Do you agree that Lindsay had, at this point, a history of mental problems during postpartum?
She had a history of anxiety postpartum.
Anxiety to the point that she was prescribed an SSRI?
Yes.
And she also had mental problems when she came to see you, right?
Yes.
So she had mental problems after she had the second child, mental problems after she had the third child, correct?
Yes.
And you'd agree with me that this is not easy stuff for somebody to be talking about. People get embarrassed in our society if they had mental problems, don't they?
Some do.
She did, didn't she?
I'm not sure.
So, not documenting any of the side effects, did you think it would be important to document the side effects of the drug before you prescribed Zoloft a second time? She's telling you that she had, you don't know, but she had side effects with Zoloft. Was it important for you to document the second time that you're giving her Zoloft?
I did not feel that it was necessary to document the specific side effects.
So if someone comes to you as a person who is in postpartum and is all the symptomology that she had related to you, that if she told you that she was on Zoloft after her second child and had side effects, you don't think it's important to document the side effects, number one, right?
It depends what the side effects are.
Which we don't know because you didn't write them down, you don't remember it.
I would have written them down if
So
they
not
were.
what you would have done, what did you do?
No, overrule. Go ahead.
I would have written them down
What
if
did you do?
I wrote that she had side effects.
What are they?
I'm not sure.
And then you prescribed
So she wrote down she had side effects, but how don't you know what the side effects are? That's unacceptable.
Zoloft again, didn't it, in 2022?
Yes.
Do you recall, in the period of September of 22, October of 22, into November of 22, that she used the word overwhelmed, told you that she was overwhelmed. Is that correct?
Sorry, which visit are we looking at?
Well, the period of time, September, October, November, did she use the terminology that she was overwhelmed?
Yes.
Okay. And when you were treating her, you didn't think that she was just merely overwhelmed with 3 children. You knew she was really struggling, didn't you?
I did.
And it was at that point that you diagnosed her with a psychiatric condition, and you prescribed psychiatric meds. Isn't that right?
I prescribe psychiatric medications, yes.
So when you prescribed the Zoloft and told her to increase it, she told you that she was having all these difficulties. You told her to stop. Did you give her therapy when you saw her?
Yes.
What did you do?
I think that I provided
Again, I
reassurance.
apologize, but not what you think. I want to know what you did. And that's why you write stuff down. So take your time and look at your notes. What did you do with this young woman for therapy?
On which day?
On what?
Which day are we talking about
When
specifically?
she came to you and told you that she was overwhelmed, and you diagnosed her with a mental illness and prescribed a psychiatric condition for psychiatric meds, what therapy did you give her? Because you told us that when you're on the television, you still give them therapy too, right?
I do.
What did you do?
Well, I'm having trouble identifying exactly when she said the words overwhelmed. So it's hard to pinpoint exactly what I said in a span of, a number of different visits.
By the way, Shadow wants me to remind you all to like the video because likes are free. Spank the like button. If you're not subscribed and you're new, make sure you subscribe, hit that notification bell. Say hello to the flock of black sheep in the live chat. As always, super chats, super stickers, and becoming a channel member or gifting channel memberships. Great ways to support the channel. They help me pay for Shadow the Night Owl soy-free hoodie snacks because he is very hormone conscious, as we wish Dr. Tufts was. So you make a good point there, Swanar. I've seen a lot of other medical professionals. They've been a little defensive of Dr. Tufts' testimony because they're in the field, right? So they have a bit of a kinship with her. So they want to defend her. They're like, oh, she didn't do anything wrong. She's stuck with the procedure. She stuck with what she was supposed to be doing. And it's like, well, some psychiatrists certainly get the thyroid checked. Some psychiatrists do the perinatal, the Edinburgh postpartum depression scale. Sweet Caroline, thank you for the super chat, Sweet Caroline, and the flock of black sheep. Hartman has a message. Ooh. I always love these kinds of super chats from Sweet Caroline and the flock of black sheep. Let's see what Hartman's message is. Hartman says, check the like box. Shadow says, here, here. Check the like box. Have you checked the like box? Hopefully everyone here checked the like box. Hopefully B checked the like box on her way out.
Did you indicate that there's information on the website that if a person has an emergency that they should do something?
I did, and I advised her the same.
So basically, if one of your patients becomes suicidal, and on that note, did she tell you at that point, up to November of 22, that she was dwelling on suicidal thoughts?
It was a while before she mentioned anything about suicidal thoughts.
Tell us when.
I might need to look through the records to
right
see
ahead.
when she first did. December 1st.
So on December 1st, what did she tell you?
That she denied feeling suicidal, but that she was close to feeling suicidal.
That's kind of like being a fisherman out in the ocean who's worried about the possibility of a storm and is thinking about the storm and is dwelling on the storm. You're almost in fear of the storm, right?
No rule.
Isn't it?
I guess.
So when she tells you that she's, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, what did she say? She's having suicidal thoughts, or what did she say? All close to it?
She denied having suicidal thoughts, but felt that she was getting close to it.
Okay.
That's almost like a distinction without a difference there. Getting close to it, I mean, if you've gotten close to it, you've done it. That's what I would say in this case. I didn't have quite thought. I am close to it. It's like, no, you're thinking about it. So, if anything, it almost seems like Dr. Tufts here didn't take it seriously enough and didn't have the correct follow-up questions to dive in. Well, tell me. Like, well, tell me, Lindsay, what are you thinking? Are you thinking of like putting a noose around your neck? Are you thinking of what? Taking a handful of pills? What are you thinking? And have those follow-ups. Doesn't seem like she did. It just seems like she kind of skirted around it and talked more about symptoms and things. But let's see.
So she was dwelling on it or thinking about it, right? Is that fair?
She was fearful of eventually having those kinds of thoughts.
To kill herself?
Yes.
And how frequently were the thoughts?
I'm not sure exactly how frequent they were.
Did you ask her?
It's
Sorry?
very likely that I did ask her the frequency.
Wouldn't that be in your medical records? I mean, you see some patients, you have some patients other than Lindsay Clancy at that point, right?
Yes.
And you document when a patient, my God, when a patient comes in and tells you that she's in postpartum distress and she's close to having suicide thoughts to kill herself, that's important, isn't it?
It's important that I am aware that she's having these thoughts,
What thoughts?
that she is fearful she could become suicidal.
And
I mean, if I was the doctor there, I'm taking that as no, those are thoughts of that. That's how I'm seeing that. That's how I'm hearing that. Not like I'm close to. It's like, no, she's basically, she might be nervous to say it outright, but she probably is having those thoughts and she's just too nervous or not comfortable enough to say it. That's how I would perceive it.
and she told you, I imagine, or you asked, how frequently these thoughts were.
I don't have it documented how frequently they were, but that is a question that I usually ask when we're talking about suicidal
When we're
thoughts.
usually testifying on a murder case, we usually have facts that we can tell the jury, not speculation.
Objection.
Yeah, sustained.
Did she tell you when you asked about suicidal thoughts?
Yes.
What did she tell you? If you don't know, tell us.
No, I know, sorry, but it's what I said before, that that she denied having them and she wasn't having them. We were meeting, but she felt close to it, close to having those thoughts.
Okay? So would you agree with me that many times patients, especially psychiatric patients, may minimize their symptomology?
Hot! Great question there by Reddington.
Patients sometimes do.
And sometimes when a woman has just had a child and has other little kids at home, you're worried about the government taking kids away from them because you're a mandated reporter, aren't you?
Objection.
This is the overall.
You're a mandated reporter, aren't you?
I am.
And if she told you, I'm having suicidal thoughts, I'm close to it, homicidal thoughts, you'd report that, wouldn't you?
Not necessarily. I think it really depends on the context, but having suicidal thoughts alone is not a reportable condition.
All right, so basically, we know that she was close to having suicidal thoughts to kill herself, whatever that means. We don't know how frequently she was having them. Yeah?
Today, I don't know how frequently, but at that point, I believe I did know how frequently they were.
Oh, okay. So as a result of that, you then gave her therapy, I imagine, right? Through the television.
Yes,
And what therapy did you give her in November of 22?
I gave her supportive psychotherapy.
And what does that mean? It sounds great. What are you doing?
It's
Sounds great.
listening to the patient and providing.
Sorry. Listening to the patient, like when they say they're having,
Hold on. Good. Sustained. Next question.
Well,
So-
she could finish the answer.
Right. Next question.
Thank you, Judge. Listening to the patient, that would be when, for example, one of your patients tells you, after all the treatment that you had provided prior to that, all the symptomology that she had, insomnia, anxiety, and all of that, that she's close to having suicidal thoughts.
Just like every tree needs a friend, as Bob Ross would say, every defendant needs a Kevin Reddington.
That would, I imagine, impact on you.
Yes.
So what did you do with this psychotherapy?
So I provided emotional support and validation and
What does that mean? Validation?
encouragement.
What does that mean?
Something like, I understand this is a very difficult time. It really, it varies on the individual.
Honestly, though, like for $400 an hour or whatever it is, you think you can get a little better then. I'm sorry you feel that way. There can be a little hope. We hope that the light at the end of the tunnel isn't an oncoming train. Like, you just feel it should be a little more sophisticated than just emotional support and emotional validation. That's what you pay the big bucks for. The expertise.
How about Lindsay?
I don't remember the exact therapeutic words that I used.
Okay. How long did you give the therapy? Validation and all that stuff?
I don't remember exactly the duration.
Be about 10 minutes?
Maybe
Through the television, right?
through the computer.
So, as we pointed out, you tell the people that come to see you, when I say you, I mean collectively Astor Medical, that you would expect that if a person is in crisis, as you guys say, or is suicidal, that they would have to go to a computer or their cell phone, right? They would have to punch in your office, right? Look up the number.
We advise them to call 911 or go to the emergency room as quickly as possible.
How about suicide hotlines? Do you give them advice to call them?
That's an option as well, yes.
Sure. Did she call suicide hotlines?
I was not aware that she did.
Did you ever ask her?
I don't think I specifically asked that
Not
question.
specifically.
So some of these questions right now, Dr. Tufts is learning some tough lessons here that, if I'm experiencing a suicidal patient, maybe asking about, have you ever called a suicide hotline? Maybe that'd be a good question to ask. Maybe if Lindsay gives permission, I should be asking Patrick, hey, what's going on in the house? Just to corroborate the story. Because, sometimes things don't always get said. So it'd be a good way to corroborate the story, provided Lindsay gave permission. If Lindsay gave permission to do that, that's something Dr. Tufts could have done. What else? Asking specifically about side effects, asking about the alcohol consumption. Is it still going on? Because honestly, that alcohol consumption, that could be sabotaging the entire effort. And that's something Dr. Tufts needs to be aware of. I mean, Lindsay could be aware of that too, by the way, but Dr. Tufts got to say something. Hey, by the way, did you know, if you're drinking 1 to 2 drinks a night, you feel guilty about it, which means it might be more than that. You have to be aware that might impact how these medicines work, and that they might not work as well, right? But it doesn't seem like she did that.
Did you ask her anything? Did you beat around the bush maybe? You ask her anything about suicide hotlines?
I don't think I asked her about suicide hotlines.
Would it surprise you to know that she called suicide hotline in that time frame, not once, but twice, and was turned away? You guys were in the front line of this, aren't you?
No, overall.
It does surprise me, yes.
It does what?
It surprises me that she called them twice.
And you never asked her if she had ever called the suicide hotline, did you?
I don't think that I did.
So some of this just comes down to the inexperience, too, of Dr. Tufts. I mean, She's only doing the job for a month, less than a month when she gets Lindsay Clancy. So, a more adept psychiatrist with years of experience, maybe they know to ask some of this stuff. But she didn't.
Well, I understand. You're a doctor. You were trying to do the right thing. You obviously, this is
Thank you very much for the super chat, Dale. Shadow and I appreciate it. Do you think this case may change the way psychiatrists operate? You know what, Dale? It's a very good question. And I think if for the only reason they're scared that something like this might happen to them, that a psychiatrist near you could be the next Dr. Tufts on the stand in front of a Kettering Reddington near you, yes, maybe they will. Maybe they will take things a little more seriously, make sure their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed. And again, it should be happening that way already, but sometimes it takes a case like this to really bear down. Because that's another thing in the mental health field in particular. Now, she doesn't have an excuse for this being so new, but when people are years and years experienced, there is burnout. Burnout can certainly be a thing. And people get cynical, so then people can get a little lackadaisical for a different reason. Dr. Tufts, I think, was just inexperienced, but I do think, Dale, what's also going to happen here is people are going to talk more about mental health awareness. They're going to talk more about postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis. And I bet you if a lot of psychiatrists see a woman that's within the first year post-birth, they're going to be thinking a lot more about postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, the Edinburgh scale for postpartum depression, thyroid functioning. They'll be thinking about all that. Because of this case, I mean, millions of eyeballs are on this case. Shadow and I chose wisely when we decided to focus on this case. We didn't realize this case was going to take over the internet. But the powers to be, Shadow's and I's wizardly powers, decided, yes, we should be talking about the Lindsay Clancy case. Hello there, Miss Amanda. So thank you for the super chat, Dale.
just horrible, isn't it?
Yes.
She continued on with her treatment with you, correct?
Yes.
What was the next medication that you put her on? Let's say we're up to, I guess it would be the October 26th date. Is that right?
October 26th.
Is that when you prescribed Ativan?
I prescribed that on the 21st.
Sorry?
I prescribed the Ativan on the 21st.
All right. Did you prescribe anything on the October 26th appointment?
Yes.
And what was that?
Buspirone.
Buspirone. And would you agree with me that, is that also Vanspar?
Buspar or Buspirone are the common names for it.
Okay. You ever heard of Vanspar? V-A-N, V as in Victor, A-N-S-P-A-R? You ever heard of that?
No, I haven't.
Okay. And would you agree with me that there are a number of side effects of Buspirone?
Every medication has side effects, but
Okay, so my question is pretty simple. Buspirone, you mentioned it, I'm asking, any side effects?
yes,
What are the side effects?
they could be tiredness or dizziness or rarely some upset stomach, but it's generally a very, very well tolerated mild medicine.
And do you recall, was she taking any other medication at that point, if you know?
Yeah, she was taking some of the Ativan.
Some Ativan, right? Did you prescribe that to her?
Yes,
When did you prescribe the Ativan to her?
The 21st.
And she was compliant with your recommendations, right?
Yes.
Was she also reporting to you that she was taking Benadryl, it's like over-the-counter stuff?
It was being used as needed. Yes.
So that's PRN, on the records, PRN or whatever, you take it as required, right?
Yes.
And she reported to you that she was taking Benadryl, right?
She reported that. Yes.
And you didn't document how much she was taking, right?
It's only available as one dose over the counter.
Okay. Did she re-up the dose over the counter? Do you know?
She didn't tell me that she did.
Did you ask her?
I don't remember asking her about if she increased it. I think she was just taking one of them.
You think? Did you know that Ativan and Benadryl are contraindicated, that they can have a serious impact to the central nervous system and depressant effects?
Yes, but can I explain that when they say depressant?
Excuse me, the answer is yes, right? Is the answer yes?
Yeah, if the answer is yes, if that's the question, the Commonwealth may be able to ask you further questions if you'd
Okay.
like.
Well, I can't say yes to that entire statement.
All right. Next
Did
question.
you discuss anything about Benadryl combined with Ativan on October 26th?
I don't recall.
So, I mean, this is good questioning by Reddington here. If Ativan and Benadryl can have a bad combo, and Dr. Tufts didn't tell her, or didn't specifically say, that doesn't make Tufts look good.
On October 26th, was she still worried about suicidal thoughts?
She denied that.
And on October 26th, how did she deny that? Is that, you have that noted in your record?
I do.
And what does it say?
Patient denies suicidal ideation.
Okay. So there's a huge difference between suicidal ideation and somebody having thoughts of suicide or being close to it, right?
Not exactly.
Well, you knew that the last time you spoke to the woman, she told you that she was close to having thoughts of killing herself, right?
Yes.
And you're her doctor, right?
Yes.
So what do? You just say, do you have, and check the box and say, do you have any suicidal ideation? And she says no, and you check the box?
No, it's not that simple.
Do you ask her, like, well, gee, the last time I spoke to you, you told me that you were close to having suicidal thoughts of killing yourself. Did you pursue that on the 26th of October?
Yes.
And what did she say?
That she wasn't.
Now, how long was that appointment, if you recall? Would you agree it was 17 minutes and then there was some therapy?
The entire appointment was something between 25 and 30 minutes.
And that was again through the television, right?
The computer, yes.
Computer. Did you also add a drug called hydroxyzine?
Yes.
When was that?
So that was the same visit as an alternative to the Benadryl.
Okay, so on October 26th, when she told you that she was taking over-the-counter Benadryl, I asked you what you prescribed to her, and you said Ativan, right? Right?
Yes.
And then I asked you about the contraindication of Ativan and Benadryl, right?
You asked me about that, yes.
And then you, on October 26th, started her on Buspar, correct?
Yes.
And what is the purpose of Buspar? Is that for anxiety?
Yes.
And what kind of drug is Buspar?
It doesn't really fall into a class, but it does act on serotonin.
So it's another, similar to an SSRI, right?
It's kind of like a more mild version of an SSRI.
Okay. So she's on Benadryl over the counter, Ativan, which is a benzodiazepine, Uspar, which is an SSRI, and then you prescribed hydroxyzine on the same day, right?
They weren't all to be taken at the same time.
What's hydroxyzine?
This is Reddington's first cross of Dr. Tufts. The other day was Dr. Ilya Goodhart. He didn't get to talk to Dr. Tufts until today.
Hydroxyzine is an antihistamine.
Okay. Is that over the counter, or is that, can you just buy that over the counter, or do you have to go to the back where the pharmacist is?
You have to go to the pharmacist.
Okay. And as far as you're concerned, she was taking the medications as she was required, right?
That's what I was told.
I'm sorry?
Yes, that's what I was told.
Did you, by her?
Yes.
And did you at any time tell her that she should keep a diary of her medications and keep a diary of any side effects that she has?
I didn't instruct her to do that.
You don't have to instruct somebody to do anything, but did you recommend it? Like say, hey, if you're on all these meds, if you're having an effect, you should write it down. When, time, date, anything like that?
I didn't tell her to do that.
Would that be helpful?
Maybe, but usually we go through all of that in the appointments, and we met very frequently.
Now, you'd agree with me that at this point, prior to the next appointment, which was November 2nd, she had gotten significantly worse, even after all this medication that you had been prescribing, right? Did you make a note that she was telling you that she had depression and that she was crying, had more anxiety, insomnia had increased, brain fog, and worrying about suicide?
In the couple weeks after starting those medicines, I don't recall that the symptoms were significantly exacerbated.
Okay. Friday afternoon, you answered the DA and you said that you recall that she used the word brain fog, right?
She used that at some point. I don't recall when.
Okay. What is brain fog?
It's it's a very subjective feeling that someone might have where maybe it's, hard to think of a word that you're trying to think of, or maybe it feels like, maybe you're thinking of things a little bit more slowly than you normally would.
And how often was she dwelling on suicide?
At what point?
At the point she told you that she had anxiety, insomnia, brain fog, crying inconsolably.
Objection, if we could have a date.
I think he's going to get to that. Go ahead.
October 26th, heading into November 2nd. Do you recall, I'll rephrase it, do you recall going into the November month, meeting with her, and she told you that she had brain fog?
It was mentioned at some point. I
Okay.
don't see that on the 26th specifically.
All right, so let's talk about brain fog. Did you ask her what that meant? Because when you say subjective, that means that's her interpretation. That's in her head. She's telling you, right?
Yes.
As opposed to objective, which would be what people in general would think, right?
Yes.
So when she's telling you, in addition to the anxiety, in addition to the crying, in addition to the stress that she was undergoing, she was worrying about suicide, she talked about brain fog. So you must have asked her, what does that mean? Subjectively, what does that mean?
Subjectively means in the patient's, own opinion. That's what their experience is.
Okay, so she's the one that's inside her head, right?
Yes.
So what were the symptoms? What is it? When a patient tells you that they have brain fog, is that something you would consider as being a potential side effect of the medications that you would put her on?
It depends.
On what?
I mean, sometimes it could be, and sometimes it could be unrelated. It's a symptom of depression as well. So sometimes it's hard to tell what it's attributed to.
So at this point, heading into November, your answer was to prescribe more medication, 3 more drugs, right? You prescribed Ativan, or increased the Ativan. What was her load for Ativan at this point? Do you remember?
Sorry?
What was her milligrams, if that's right, or nanograms, whatever it is, on the Ativan, on the script that you had provided her?
Objection, if we could just have a date.
I think you said, no, if you can answer that, go ahead.
Which date are we referring to for the Ativan? Because there were there. I'm sorry.
She already objected. He already said you can answer it. When did you increase her Ativan and to what level?
So she was prescribed Ativan 0.5 milligrams.
Right.
And then when I next saw her, she said it was a little bit helpful. So I said you could increase it and see if 1 milligram is more helpful.
Did she increase it?
Yes.
And when was the next time you saw her to talk to her on the television or on the computer?
Well, I saw her on the 26th, and then I saw her on the 31st. I'm sorry.
How was she on the 31st? Halloween.
Sorry.
How was she?
That's not my note. That's her therapy note.
Okay. So how about this November 2nd? Was that the next time you saw her?
I saw her on November 2nd.
And she told you that she was hesitant to use the medications.
But the problem with that, Miss Amanda, is she doesn't know. Like, that doesn't mean she stopped. It doesn't mean she definitely continued. But the problem is she doesn't know. You gotta know.
The Buspar and the hydroxyzine, right?
She said she was hesitant to try the Buspar.
She was scared of the drug. She was scared of the drugs, right?
She was afraid to take a medication.
She wasn't doctor shopping and asking you to give her drugs so she could get high. She was asking you for help. Isn't that right?
Yes.
And she was afraid to take the drugs and told you that she was afraid to take the drugs, right?
She told me she was afraid to take the Buspirone.
Did you advise her or counsel her or give her therapy about that? Validations?
Yes.
And what did you tell her?
Well, I advised her of, the risks.
What were the risks?
Well, the risks of the medicine, like we had said, sedation or dizziness.
Okay. How about interfering with sleep?
Buspirone doesn't usually interfere with sleep.
Not usually. Did you ask her about any thoughts of suicide or being close to having thoughts of suicide?
Yes.
Did she indicate to you that she had any thoughts of suicide at all?
Not at that date.
Did she use those words, or is that a box that you checked off?
I don't remember her exact words, but we talked about suicide or, thoughts of hurting yourself.
Right. And there's a distinction between, in your records and the notation, between suicidal ideation and I quote, worrying about, thinking about suicide. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
And what did she mean when she told you, as her doctor, that she was worrying about, thinking about suicide?
You mean in the prior appointment?
I'm talking about a woman that's sitting in front of you on your television or your computer telling you that she was worried about thinking about suicide.
Well, on the second, she didn't say.
And the reason I think it's so important is about the drinking, it's because it could be sabotaging the entire mental health effort. It could be sabotaging all of the meds. And if Dr. Tufts doesn't know something that can be sabotaging the entire thing, that's a problem. Like, Dr. Tufts should be asking that every appointment. Like, oh, are you still drinking? Oh, do you still feel guilty about it? Has your drinking increased? Are you drinking less? What is it? But she didn't know. Like, that's something very important to ask. In any kind of mental health setting, that's what I'd be asking. I always say, even in my Radical Self-Respect program, addictions and mental health are the number one things.
That.
Okay. When was the next time that she told you that she was worried about or thinking about or suicidal ideation?
That was the December 1st visit.
Okay. So go back to the November 2nd visit. Would you agree with me that she, after you talked with her for that period, however long it was, that you then brought up 4 medications to her, recommending that they might be safer, and I quote, safer alternatives? Would you agree with that?
I see the word alternatives, not
Okay.
safer alternatives.
Do you remember talking to her about Remeron?
Yes.
Did you recommend that she take Remeron?
No.
Did you ever prescribe Remeron?
No.
And is that mirtazapine, as far as its generic name?
Yes.
And Remeron is an antidepressant, isn't that right?
Yes.
And you did not feel that that would be an appropriate medication for her to take at that time?
It was a very reasonable option, but we didn't decide to start it.
So is this a collaboration? In other words, you and the patient, you would both make a decision as to when to start a drug? Or is it your decision and advice to the patient?
Well, it's ultimately my decision, but the patient's thoughts about the matter are very important. At the end of the day, the patient has to go home and take it themselves. I'm not there to ensure that that is happening or not.
So you had a November 22nd appointment, right?
Yes.
And it was at that time that she told you that she had been to see South Shore Perinatal Clinic, right?
Yes.
And did she tell you why she was seeing someone from the South Shore Perinatal Clinic?
I think she told me that it was because they were exclusively focused on treating perinatal conditions.
Yeah, but so were you, right?
Not exclusively. I'm a general
I
psychiatrist.
see. And did she mention the name of any doctor or nurse practitioner that she was seeing at the South Shore Perinatal Clinic?
Yes.
Who'd she mention?
I think she said something about Julie.
Paul?
Yes.
Okay. And a woman by the name of Nurse Gelada?
I heard her name a little bit later, but
Okay.
yes.
Did she advise that, in fact, by script, she was using Ativan and Benadryl, and you told her to taper off the Ativan at that appointment, right? Had she tapered off the Ativan?
I think I had told her I gave her a prescribed taper prior to that appointment.
What does that mean? What does that mean, you gave her a prescribed taper?
So I told her that she should reduce her dose by 0.25 milligrams every 2 weeks until the medication was stopped.
Did she do that?
I mean, I don't believe that she completely stopped it, no.
No? You don't believe, or she didn't?
Well,
Trying to give the jury facts.
Yeah, she said she was taking Ativan, so no, she didn't completely stop it.
Had she tapered?
I'm not sure how much she had reduced the dose because I wasn't prescribing it again.
Right. So did you know that she had been, or had she been, to any emergency wards between that period of time that you last saw her and when you were seeing her on this meeting?
I know she went to the ER, but I think it was after that.
Okay, which ER did she go to, do you know?
I think she went to Mass General
Do you know why she went to the ER?
because of depression.
So was she treated at the ER? Did they make any, to your knowledge, as her doctor, make any recommendations?
I'm not sure what they told her, but they ultimately
Go ahead.
discharged her. They didn't admit her.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
That's all right. Was she put on any medication?
Not from the ER.
When you looked at the records from South Shore Perinatal Clinic, what did they indicate about suicidal ideation, worrying about suicide, close to suicide, anything?
I didn't have access to those records.
You're going to keep your voice up so everybody can hear you. You what?
I did not have access to those records
None.
because we're a completely separate clinic.
So he's talking about McLean right now and how she didn't have access to the records. And again, I'm pretty sure, as her psychiatrist, if she knew about the stay, which she did, I'm pretty sure she would legally be able to ask, oh, by the way, I'm Lindsay's psychiatrist. Do you mind if you tell me what you guys went over there in the notes? Because it's my patient. I'm pretty sure that's legal.
Seriously?
Objection.
She's visiting with you as a patient and you can't access her medical records? Is what you're telling this jury?
I did not have access to them, no.
Could she have signed a release, a HIPAA form?
Yes, she could have.
And you could have got the records,
Yes.
but you didn't.
I did not feel like it was necessary because she provided all the relevant information about her treatment there.
How do you know? She's got a mental disease and she's suing you and she's on all this cocktail of drugs. How do you know that she is an accurate historian at this point in her life?
It felt very accurate when she was able to recall the names of the medicines, doses of the medicines, specific days. She provided a lot of incredibly detailed information. So it showed me she was capable of doing that.
So when you talked to her husband, Pat, how many times did you talk to her husband, Pat?
I think
The guy was living with her.
it was once.
And he came to your office, right? No, he didn't. He got on the television on the computer screen, right?
Yes.
And when was that?
I think it was the December 16th visit.
So let's,
Reddington, why don't, before we get to that.
Okay.
Probably a good spot to stop. We're going to take the morning recess, and then we'll come right back, okay?
Court, all right.
The morning recess. There's hours of this to go, by the way. We might pick up on this again tomorrow, actually. But that was the majority of the good stuff. Now, I'll give you the spoiler that Miss Amanda was saying. So, Julie Paul was her name. Let me look up her name. The licensed mental health counselor. Or is she with a nurse practitioner? Let's see what she was. What was Julie Paul? Psychiatric mental health nurse practitioner. And a certified nurse midwife. How about that? So she had said that Lindsay told her that she wasn't drinking anymore. So again, was she being honest? Maybe. Was she not being honest? Maybe. It's hard to know. Again, with trust but verify, right? I mean, unless there's drug testing being done, you don't know. You take their word for it. And that's a little bit of the problem in this case. That's the problem Dr. Tufts is running into. She took Lindsay's word for things, and some things were being a little bit withheld. And it makes it tricky. So, and I'm going to do a thing about what Patrick could have done a little bit better in another video. Now, granted, I'm not being nearly as hard on Patrick as a lot of people I'm seeing are. But I do think there's probably a couple things that he probably wishes he did differently. And that's what we're going to go over in another video. I think that's a good call, Janine. It's a good time to wrap it up. We've been on here for 3 hours. Might do something a little earlier tomorrow. Julie Paul was a nurse practitioner at the perinatal program. She is impressive and not included in the lawsuit. Did she prescribe any medications? Probably not, if she's not in the lawsuit. Lindsay's report with Julie Paul is very different. Interesting. So Patrick said she wasn't drinking once she started the meds. Well, that would be good. So if that was the case, then okay, you can maybe rule that out as an issue as long as she's not sneaking it. But again, I don't know. See, the thing is, I don't know if like how often was Lindsay being completely honest with Patrick? She did mention the harmful thoughts, but was she withholding other things? Because ultimately, the biggest criticism of Patrick is, oh my goodness, he believed her when Lindsay said she was okay to be alone with the kids. And everyone's acting like it's so obvious that that wasn't the case. Obviously, Lindsay was not safe to be around the kids. And I would say to them, you're only saying that because hindsight's 2020. Looking back, it seems obvious. But at the time, it doesn't. At the time, he's probably believing what Lindsay says. At the time, he wants to give her a charitable interpretation. And now, ironically, he's getting criticized for giving her that charitable interpretation. They're saying, no, Patrick, you should have given her the least charitable interpretation, and you shouldn't have believed her. Can you believe it? We've gotten to a point where now he's getting criticized for believing her. For believing a woman. Oh my goodness. Could you imagine? Now, back in the... Most times you'd hear, how dare you not believe her, right? But in this case, it's an example of, how dare you believe her? So it's a possibility, right, Hartman? I'm not saying yes, but I'm not definitively saying no. You would hope Patrick would know, though, one way or the other. You would hope, but you never know. Wouldn't be the first time somebody is hid drinking from their partner, or drug use from their partner. Wouldn't be the first time. So again, a lot of this for Patrick also comes down to social calibration. You got to be socially calibrated to understand what's going on. You also have to understand relationships. You have to understand women. There's a lot of things to understand. What's shaking there, Tim? Well, what? She chewed up 7 different meds before she jumped. Well, she took a handful after she killed the kids. And so what I've been telling people about that handful is it can mess up what she was taking as prescribed or not. So there's all these drugs in her system in the toxicology report. There's like 6 or 7. But that being said, she was only ever on 3 medications-ish at once. So, okay, only on 3 medications, but toxicology report 6 or 7 meds. So how much of that was altered by that handful? Probably several. That's very true, sweet Caroline. The blood tests never lie. That's right. Nanny Goat's the reason Tim is green. I'm sure Tim's very grateful. Or it's like Teddy Roosevelt would say, trust but verify. Trust but verify. And again, it's so hard to know now because these answers, you can't have them anymore. Like some of these answers, you're just never going to know. Was she drinking or not? You just have to take her word for it. Now the problem is, sometimes she withholds things, and it's Dr. Tufts' job to try to get to the bottom of it. And it seems like there's several things it seems like Dr. Tufts could have done a better job at getting to the bottom of. Especially when the subject matter is as serious as it is. Social calibration is what it's all about, Hartman, especially in relationships. A lot of men that I see struggle, that's one of the biggest things they struggle with, social calibration. Let's see. Yeah, at the end there, I don't think there was alcohol in her system. They tested her for drugs and alcohol. There was none then. But this is what I'm saying, sweet Caroline, is at the end, she was only ever prescribed 3-ish at the same time. So I would wonder those other 3 or 4 that were in her system, how did they get there? Were they just part of the handful that shouldn't have been there? Or what were the last ones that she was actually prescribed? I'm pretty sure that list is available. The list is available somewhere. Where's the thing? I still don't think the prosecution's going to be able to win. Again, the prosecution has a very tough job. Like, their job to me is near impossible in this case. Some of the things that help the prosecution, no signs of psychosis, that would help them. But overall, I think the biggest one's going to be the expert witnesses on postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis. That will be probably the next biggest thing going on. Not going to be S. Hello there, Haven. Welcome. Well, it's just very difficult. In a case like this, it's very difficult to prove she certainly was sane, and not even her mental capacity wasn't even substantially impaired. It's going to be difficult. And the fact that the way Reddington's talking to Dr. Tufts, you know, he's pointing out the areas where she fell short. And that certainly helps the defense. And all right. Well, my social battery's getting tired, so Shadow says it's time to wrap it up. Sergeant Pepper says some people don't want their symptoms to be obvious to other people. They're afraid of what will happen to them. That is true. However, you don't want to have what ended up happening happen either. Pretty convenient for you, Nanny Goat, right? You don't have to wake up early. Sounds like you've had some good experience then, Chatty Cathy. And the reason, again, the reason I say the prosecution has a tough case is just the standard and the burden that they're required to prove. And it seems like McLean let her down, and Dr. Tufts let her down with the no thyroid testing, no Edinburgh scale, not looking at the full picture. But they just didn't. I don't know if it's not they didn't know what they didn't know, or it just wasn't in their awareness. They weren't experienced enough to do it. McLean should have been. But again, that's what this case is going to do. This case is going to bring awareness to postpartum depression, postpartum psychosis, and mental health. So, yes, Shadow and I will rock and roll. Haven, thanks for being here. I think the experts are better at judging her overall behavior, not us. Well, doesn't seem like it, though. That's the problem. it doesn't seem like Dr. Tufts and the McLean Hospital did judge it properly. It seems like they didn't see it fully for what it was, or they didn't recognize the danger. They didn't recognize how dangerous it could be. You're an early bird, Nanny Goat. Shadow and I are certainly not early birds. So Dee, Sweet Caroline, Dana, Teresa, Miss Kim, Nanny Goat, Hartman, Chatty Cathy, Sergeant Pepper, Tim, Wendy, Songbitch, Laura, and everyone can get along. That very well be. I have not heard the Julie testimony yet, Miss Amanda. I still got to watch that. So I'll see what I think of that. But all right, folks, Chatty Cathy and everyone else, Dana, I think human nature would override the psychosis before she unalived one of the kids, unless she wanted to do it. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. I'm not ruling it out. But all right, folks, till next time, thanks for joining me for a few hours here. We always have a blast together. Make sure you've liked that video, share this video, tell a few friends about the flock of black sheep, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're subscribed. So have a great night, folks.